What is going on, everybody? It is episode 274 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name's Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. What it do? James Bond is white. Let's effing go, right?
Maybe. We don't know this yet. Maybe. I might be wrong. I made my predictions yesterday. We will get into it. We have a guest host today.
Yo. What's up, YouTubers? I'm back. It's Kellen. I thought I should do a rap intro just like you did, Mary. You inspired me.
That was
in the
very...
last 15 seconds. What it do?
I haven't heard What It Do since like 2010.
Well, tell me.
It's back.
What it do, Brett? What are we covering today?
Look, first of all, I'm holding out hope on the James Bond one because I don't want to lose any money. But we're going to be talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson of Bullet Train fame, amongst other things. He was in The Kingsman as well. He is the front runner now to play James Bond. We are going to discuss that. I've got some other inquiries related to it, talking about his discussion with Barbara Broccoli. I'm going to talk about how it relates to what it means for Hollywood when the casting of a person beyond just the, are they right for the role becomes such a big deal. The non-acting elements. So we'll discuss that. We're going to talk about a new rule put in, well, it's not a new rule, a rule put in place by Netflix, which seems to be how they judge whether a show gets approved or not. This is relevant right now because a lot of people are very angry about the cancellation of 1899. I know Kellen looks very angry.
No,
Kellen just found out.
Yeah, I found out an hour ago.
He's in shock.
Very upset.
And I don't like it.
You're going
it was
through
such
every
a good
stage of
show,
grief right
man.
now.
It was such a good show, and it's stupid. Yeah. I hate Netflix.
So we will discuss that. Yeah, like Netflix has commitment issues. We all know this. So we will talk about that. We're going to talk about Jenna Ortega. She's basically evil, right? She's basically evil. So we're going to talk about her.
She's done some very bad things.
She's basically Kanye West, according to this article, right? So we will talk about that. We will talk about creepy Romeo and Juliet. Like this is one of those things where it's becoming such a commonplace here, where it's like we don't even like covering it, but we kind of have to, where the lead actors from the 1968 version of Romeo and Juliet are suing Paramount Global because of distribution of bad images of children, we'll just say, because they filmed scenes nude when they were underage.
After we had our ad suitability limited on talking about Demi Moore and that video of her with a teenager, we weren't sure if we wanted to cover a topic like this, but ultimately, it's what's relevant right now, and we don't have a choice, and YouTube is going to be how YouTube is going to be, and that's just that.
Well, to me, it's also just like every time I see a topic like this, I'm like, so Hollywood's full of creeps and weirdos.
What's new?
Imagine my shock, I say to you all.
And
then we got some other stuff at the end. Snoop Dogg is in the news in a funny way, and I want to talk about...
Biggie Smalls?
And
what's going on?
Not really Biggie Smalls, but kind of Biggie Smalls.
A simulacra. Of Biggie Smalls.
Dane would have loved that. He loves that word.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that you do too.
Yeah. No, not me. I don't use that one very often. Dane always says, I always mispronounce it. So.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny being like basically not dead in the water, but in the age of big budget tentpole films, the fact that Indiana Jones just isn't generating the interest that it once would have is kind of a sign of the time. So we'll get into that as well. Are you ready, guys?
I am
Mary.
ready.
Let's do this.
All right. Oh, also, we're getting some chats and some people in the chat saying that they were sent here by Tim. So what you will see, guys, when we get into the main screen here, there will be a meter at the bottom that says what we're talking about. We will talk about the crisis meter. So let's just get right into it. So it says front runner to replace Daniel Craig as James Bond is revealed. That front runner is Aaron Taylor Johnson. He most recently, I think most people know him from Bullet Train. He was the Tangerine in Bullet Train.
He was very suave in that role, and
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why they thought he's a good candidate. Yeah. But people are gonna complain no matter what. Everyone has their favorite person that they want cast in this role. People were talking about Cillian Murphy, Michael Fassbender.
Cillian Murphy's a horrible idea. I will stand by that one forever. I do not want Dead Eyes as James Bond. I don't.
No. But that's why I was just going to push back. I loved Aaron in Bullet Train. But
he was so good in Bullet Train.
The reason he was so good is why I think he would be a bad James Bond. James Bond needs to be this fancy, posh dude, and he was too much of a, this is a joke. Which I thought he played that masterfully.
But
Loved
Daniel
him in
Craig
Kingsman.
is as Benoit Blanc. He's a comedic
That's not James Bond, though.
character.
And that was after James
The
Bond.
idea here is that they think
he's
that
capable of both. Though.
He was
Sure,
he was good in Tenet. He was also, I mean, I don't even remember. Like, it was so long ago that his Avengers, like as Quicksilver, I like don't remember that at all. He was also, I found out at one point, up for Spider-Man, for like the 2012 Spider-Man that Andrew Garfield played. So he was going to be Spider-Man in that, and then didn't get cast. So
I saw a ton of mixed reactions to this rumor. I hope that the rumor is true, though, because I didn't want James Bond to get race swapped, gender swapped, whatever else you can think of swapped. I am happy with the idea.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that.
But everyone has their pet celebrity that they want to be the next James Bond, and they're going to complain no matter what.
Another argument to your point about like the quirky part is he's from Kick-Ass. Have you ever seen Kick-Ass? Okay, okay, he was the kid in Kick-Ass. So I think Idris Elba would be a good bad guy. I think he should be the villain in the next James Bond movie. He's too old now. They made it a point of saying, no, he is. They said, like, when you sign on for that role, you don't sign on for one movie. You said you're in there for 10, 15 years.
James Bond,
Daniel Craig got hired to do Casino Royale in 2004 or 5. The movie came out in 2006. You're in it for the long
How old was he then?
He was in his late 30s or mid 30s, I think, at that time.
Okay, so 32 is a good age to start, and I think
you have to
a lot of the people complaining that it wasn't Henry Cavill and people that feel like Henry Cavill just can't catch a W these days. Obviously, Aaron Taylor Johnson has a leg up on him in being like 7 or more years younger than him. And I saw another complaint that, like, we need a Lemon and Tangerine spinoff. Like, this isn't what we asked for, but cool. And they liked him so much in that role that they feel this is going to take him away from it. Weirdly, a lot of people were hating on Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife, seemingly just for her age.
His wife is a director that's 20 years older than him.
Who directed 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, we know how
She's 55 years old and he is 32, so that is quite a large age gap. But they were being
a stepdaughter that's only 7 years younger.
About
it's not going to last.
One person said,
that with,
but they've been married since 2012. Like, it seems to be going strong. So they're saying, if we can just get him away from the Crypt Keeper. They're also saying he needs to meet with some divorce lawyers.
That's mean. That's mean, dude.
Just a lot of comments about his wife, which were completely unrelated to the rumor that we're talking about. Another person said, I'm looking forward to the first Bond that can rightfully call one of his villains a C word. I saw another tweet that said, I thought as soon as an Indian guy...
They love that word in the UK, so they can use that word. They're fine.
Another person said, I thought as soon as an Indian guy became prime minister, you were legally required to cast Dev Patel.
Oh, I actually thought, like, I really do still think that there's a strong possibility that Regé-Jean Page gets cast in this role.
Because there's this rumor that because Bridgerton has halted the 3rd season and they're doing that to rewrite the script, that they're actually rewriting Regé-Jean Page out of a lot of the script so that he has time to do this.
For the people that are new here, my pet logic here is that I think it was the big ask. There was a bunch of articles written at one point that says, why does James Bond have to be a dude? Why does James Bond have to be straight? Why does James Bond have to not be in a wheelchair? The idea here being that if you pitch all those ridiculous concepts early, then when they just hire somebody that's not a regular, like a straight white British guy,
you settle,
and you're like, okay, that's fine. I know most people want him to be blonde haired or dark haired, blue eyed, whatever. It doesn't matter to me as much as long as they don't talk about his race as part of the character, because that's not relevant to the story. I wouldn't have a problem with Regé-Jean Page. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is a better fit.
I would have a problem with it about James Bond getting race swapped, because I think of it as an intentional erasure of a white male lead, which is a concerted effort happening in Hollywood right now. They've sufficiently shown the audiences that they do not care about their input, whether the person they are suggesting is a POC or they're white. They aren't listening to what audiences want now anyway. So we would get very lucky to have a white straight male lead.
The funny thing is back when Daniel Craig got hired, they made a huge deal about the fact that he had light hair. Like that was the argument.
Weird.
They're like, he doesn't like James Bond does not have light, because he's got like a light blonde, like light brown hair.
Right,
I guess is he considered blonde?
I mean, you could always
Dirty
dye
blonde.
it
You could always
anyway.
dye it.
But they made a big
Sure,
deal.
yeah.
They made a big deal about that. And the same thing is like, look, casting is a huge thing now. When Ben Affleck got cast as Batman, they said don't go on the internet for at least 2 weeks. It will drive you nuts.
Drag
And I
you
think
down,
it's funny. If you're a celebrity now, just when I look at comment sections for anything like on Instagram, even Instagram's far less poisonous and toxic than Twitter is, right? You see random celebrities mentioned all the time, like tagged in videos that are being awful to them. You just detach at a certain point. You can't pay attention to
Well, I
what's
know that
going
was
on.
a big when Elon Musk started the whole Twitter blue thing and anyone could become verified, it would ruin like certain influencers' feeds, because you can filter by verified accounts, but now everyone's verified. So then all of a sudden you have these high profile people, just the floodgates were opened and they saw all that slander.
And there's a
and all
difference
that.
there's no difference between the appearance of a legacy verification and a Twitter blue verification. So it's
Not at first glance. I think
unless
there
you
is-
click on
exactly
the tab, but that takes so much effort.
exactly.
The other thing here is that I would like Tom Meissen. Do you know who Tom Meissen is? Tom Meissen was in a show called Sleepy Hollow with
Okay.
Nicole Bahari.
You
Really-
were just telling me that I should go watch that.
He's tall, British dude. He's actually probably taller than I was surprised. Daniel Craig's only 5'10".
That makes sense.
That's like I was imagining. I always imagine Bond as over 6 feet, something like this. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, he had a meeting with Barbara Broccoli. Yes, that is the name, Barbara Broccoli, Albert
Barbara
Broccoli. Yeah,
Broccoli.
Albert Broccoli's wife. Had a meeting with him. They said he had a secret audition last year. I know that the audition process for Bond films is strenuous and intensive because they have to test out a lot of different people. And now, probably more than any other time in history, it's relevant because you can't just cast who you want and be gone with it. If it was big when Michael Keaton was getting cast, and it was another thing, when Michael Keaton got cast as Batman, they made a big deal about that. They said he wasn't right for the role.
Right.
So it's always been a thing. It's just more recent that it has to do with somebody in the chat goes, still taller than you, Brett. Yes, still taller than me. You are correct. But it's saying it's just relevant for kind of more annoyingly like culture war reasons now.
The one thing about this, though, I've seen a few articles over the past handful of weeks about who might be the next James Bond. And I will say, for the most part, all the people that get tabbed or the rumors swirl around, I can see them in the role. I think James Bond might be a standalone franchise in that regard, that most of it's like, yeah, maybe he's not the best fit, but I could see him pulling it off. Like,
also, they go through different directors, so it's very possible that with one director you get a better performance than another
Right.
director. That's my other question here: is will Martin Campbell be the one that they bring back to launch the new franchise? Martin Campbell launched both the Pierce Brosnan Bond films and the Daniel Craig Bond films. He did both GoldenEye and Casino Royale. Will they get him back on board to do that film? They can't get Cary Fukunaga. Remember when we had to do all the stuff about Cary Fukunaga being creepy on
Some
set of
vague story
Spectre
about him being creepy in relationships
with the women on set.
what was your favorite Daniel Craig Bond film?
Casino Royale? By
Really?
far. Oh yeah. I prefer Pierce Brosnan. I love all the Brosnan films, including the awful Die Another Day.
So like with you being a fan of those films and being somewhat invested in what happens to this character, I think you have all the more reason to oppose them race or gender swapping this character, because you know it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
They normalize things over time so that you're assimilated to the idea that there's nothing essential about James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, I admit that I'm still one of those people. Like, I give it I try to give as much as possible and not be as judgmental as possible. You're right. I believe that there's a certain segment of Hollywood, especially at the producer level, that wants to make these changes fundamentally. Should I support it? No, but I also think that it's inevitable in a lot of cases. Maybe that's a defeatist attitude in a lot of ways.
I don't think that it has to be inevitable.
It feels inevitable to me. So the idea here is like, if they're going to do it, can we get who in the meantime can we get the best performance out of? But if we keep Aaron Taylor Johnson, we don't have to worry about that.
Right, I also don't think James Bond, I don't think the race is super important for James Bond particularly.
A lot of people believe it is because he comes from British. He's not British royalty, but he's part of.
It's aristocracy.
He's aristocracy.
Well,
So
whether
it's
it's important to the character or not, it's clearly like the race of James Bond is clearly more important to the people who want it to change than the people who don't care.
Sure. Like,
you know,
I guess
I saw so many people coping and seething and like having a literal tantrum in response to just the rumor that Aaron Taylor Johnson will get cast, simply because he's not a POC. Like, I literally saw someone tweet, why another non-POC? They don't even think of him as white. They think of him as non-POC.
It also
because it's all the same to them. It's a wash.
It also proves the entitlement.
Yes.
Like, not only that they think that it's going to happen, but if it doesn't, it's the wrong move, and that they just assume now that they're going to get their way. And the funny thing is
because they always do.
The reason why why this is important too, the reason why it matters is because they don't go after any franchise. That's why they leave Reacher alone. That's why they don't care about the Terminalist. They care about culturally relevant franchises. And I will concede to you on that, Mary, that it is extremely important to them because they want the things that are bastions of our culture in the past, right? So superheroes were something people grew up with. Anything sci-fi, anything that's relevant to kids that influences
young
the
adult
next generation,
fiction, animated series.
If this, it would be less about that, and it would be more about destroying traditional male roles. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be about influencing the kids, because kids, I don't think, are the ones going to care about James Bond as much as it is middle-aged dudes in their 40s, their 30s, and their 40s and up. But they don't care about Reacher and those other ones because they're not as culturally relevant.
They don't have the cachet
exactly
that James Bond has. I'm just saying, like, let's level with the logic they're using.
Yeah.
Representation is important. Young black children need to see on screen that they can be like this strong lead character. Okay, so if we erase all of the white male leads, what is that going to teach the young white children watching media that is dominated by race-swapped characters?
They would have to go and watch the other stuff that's not culturally relevant and make that culturally relevant.
Further than that, like, I saw someone, well, actually a lot of people saying the next Bond after this is going to be a woman or a gay man. Like, sorry to tell you, but this is incremental.
Right. So if the intent
change
is to just check off boxes to seem noble, then yes, that's wrong. But I think if Daniel Kaluuya, that was another person I've seen his name in the hat,
she would tell Edgy
or Idris Elba, if they auditioned and they were truly the best Bond-like person for the job, completely okay with me. Now, if they chose that guy because it checks off a box, yeah, that's stupid.
It's impossible to prove it impossible.
Because
it's impossible to prove now.
They can cast this person because they think they'll do the best job, and it's a huge bonus that they're not white. Like, that's always the case.
It's like when they were talking about Little Mermaid. They were talking about, we did colorblind casting. Like, did you really?
And then we pushed the idea on her that we're going to incorporate her dreadlocks in the movie.
Yes.
Like, it's always just an added bonus for them.
Yeah.
If they can find someone who's a singer and an actress, and we get diversity points. Like, it's always on the table.
It's also funny, too, because a lot of people are talking about how they basically gave 007, the code name 007 to Lashana Lynch's character in the last Bond movie before, you know, obviously before the end. I won't give away the ending to that movie. But that's not the first time this has happened. They were going to do, when Halle Berry played, I forget her character's name, Sphinx? Her character, Jinx in Die Another Day. They were like astroturfing her to like, she's going to get her own spin-off. I'm like, except for nobody in the world other than me likes the movie Die Another Day. So how is that even possible when, like, Halle Berry had credit at that time because Halle Berry's a big name, but nobody really cares about Lashana Lynch. Like, in that role, Halle Berry makes the role, not the character. In this, Lashana Lynch is made by the character. So it doesn't even really matter if they want to make a female James Bond. They could just do a spin-off if they wanted to. They won't, because it won't ever sell. That's probably what will happen now that
Who says they care about it selling?
I'm saying, like, now that MGM has been purchased by Amazon Prime, there is every possibility that you end up getting a spin-off of a female character. They could have done a Moneypenny. Look, they did a Alfred Pennyworth series on HBO Max that a lot of people in the chat hated on me for saying, like, who actually wanted to watch that. Like, I get it. We love the character of Alfred, but there's a reason why some characters are meant to be supporting roles. Right? Like, there's every possibility now that they give a character like Lashana Lynch's character, or give Naomi Harris as Moneypenny her own spin-off working at MI6. It's all about office politics at MI6, and you put it on Amazon Prime.
Right.
You can do that.
And I think this issue about casting the next James Bond, it all goes back to the original issue that there's no creativity anymore. Everything's a re-envisioning. Everything's a reimagining, right? If you like create a new character in the James Bond universe, you're saying it wouldn't sell. That's an argument.
I mean, sell is a moot point.
You got to try. You can't score if you don't shoot.
Sell is a moot point because when it's on streaming, it's like, how do you prove that it sold? Just because they subscribe doesn't mean that means you sell.
They even lie about the numbers anyway, so we'll never know.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment because it's like there's nothing faker than trending lists. Like when you open Netflix and says our top 10 trending, and you've heard of maybe 1 and 2.
I can't think of something more obvious that should be transparent just for like investors' sake. Like the numbers on these shows should be publicly available and not filtered and manipulatively worded into something favorable, like Rings of Power. Mm-hmm. That ought to be transparent to the audience.
Yeah. It's also for this one, it's funny too, because for Aaron Taylor Johnson, somebody in the chat mentioned they think he's too skinny. He'll bulk up, but then Henry Cavill's too
like nothing is ever good enough, right?
Henry Cavill would not have been a good
Daniel
Bond.
Craig was actually the perfect size. Pierce Brosnan was actually the perfect size. I really do. Guys, if you want to watch something interesting, GoldenEye is my favorite James Bond movie of all time. But if you go back and you watch Die Another Day and you watch The World Is Not Enough, they're legitimately good action movies outside of Denise Richards being the least the least believable nuclear physicist in the history of the world. Other than that, they're fantastic movies that are designed to be entertainment. Like, it's really funny. Like Bond, like GoldenEye happens, like the Cold War is over. They're talking about it's the end of communism. What are we going to do with the fall of the Soviet Union? By The World Is Not Enough, geopolitics. They're like, it's about an anarchist because they just didn't know what else to do. Like they didn't know what else to make the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and you get these roles. They're like, in Die Another Day, it's about an evil media mogul who controls the news. What's more relevant than that today?
Then in Jurassic World Dominion, you have like the big tech overlord.
Yeah, that's kind of what
transhumanism.
They did that with the new Bond ones with Rami Malek's character, supposed to be kind of in that realm there. But like the real question is, do we keep Ralph Fiennes as M with the new Bond, because that's what they did with the last one. They kept, when Pierce Brosnan left and Daniel Craig took over, Judi Dench remained on as M, and they're like, that doesn't really make any sense, but just go with it, right? Like, so what do you do? Do you keep him? Do you keep Naomi Harris as Moneypenny, or is it just a whole reboot from the top? I think you kind of have to do a whole reboot because he'll be younger than Naomi Harris is now by the time they make that movie.
Hey, maybe he doesn't mind, given that his wife is 55 years old.
Yeah,
they also somehow have 2 children, biological children. And he's like, what did you say, 5 years older than his own stepdaughter?
Yeah, he's 7.
Kind of wild.
He's only 7 years older than one of his stepkids. Yeah, that
is interesting.
Little bit. I mean, Hollywood's so unique, you know.
Chat, I would love. I've been seeing chat like just laying down hilarious.
They're saying Jordan Peterson for Bond, and the way he saves the world is telling people to clean their room.
Jackie Chan is Bond.
Like, Peter Dinklage is Bond.
There was a time when we were in the colorblind casting age where it actually didn't, like when we got Brandy as Cinderella, where we could have very easily ended up with Jackie Chan as James Bond, and I would have been here for it. It just becomes it just becomes a Hong Kong action flick, and it's just James Bond doing kung fu the whole time. Let's go.
All of the comments on the article about Aaron Taylor Johnson are complaining, saying, you know, where have the real men gone? What happened to Hollywood? Sean Connery was perfect, and now we don't have any real men to pick from. Like, woo! Thank you.
Oh, people get to hear the
people
sound
from
effect.
all sides. Finally, it's loud enough.
P-A-R-T. Why? Because I.
Thank you, guys.
Jim Carrey as James Bond. Let's go.
That body language would be.
What about Vin
interesting
Diesel?
to watch.
Let's go. The Rock as James Bond. They could have done. Who is it? Like, who's an American? Like, we all know that British people can fake American accents. Who is a good American actor that can fake?
Who plays Barry? What's his name?
Robert Downey Jr. could do it because he does Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, so if you investigate things, you're James Bond.
No, but I'm saying
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. Yeah.
He could do it.
I don't see it.
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn. What did he change his name to? Ray and like climate
Yeah,
change
like
Wilson.
he became like Rain. I'm a douche canoe. Wilson.
Benedict Cumberbatch comes from Aristocracy.
Yes,
he would work for the.
What was that show on Amazon?
lore.
Did it get canceled? The one with Ray and Wilson about the pandemic?
I didn't even know that he had a show.
It was it was good, but I don't remember there being a second season.
What was the fake interview show Between the Ferns on,
that
on
was
Netflix?
with
what's
Zach
his name?
Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis.
That was
Zach
funny.
Galifianakis as James Bond.
It's just like a bumbling James
Because
Bond that
nothing
always
has to make
screws
sense
it up.
anymore.
It doesn't have to make sense anymore. They could have Bond in an alternate universe on Amazon Prime where it's just like him like lucking into everything that happens. Like he just screws up kind of like or what maybe what they do next is they make live action Archer.
Utopia. Oh yeah, I saw that comment. That would be great.
Live action Archer.
Sterling Archer. Who would do that? Who would be Sterling Archer live action? Who's that much? What's the word I want to say? Because he's cunning, but he's also just. He's kind of a frat boy. Who
He is.
became
No,
a
he's
spy.
he's absolutely a frat boy.
Yeah, he's a lax guy.
And they've got what's her Aisha Tyler is actually the woman who plays what's her name in the show? Lana is Aisha Tyler, who is acting and is like she's not just a voice actor. She's actually an on-screen actress.
I've seen her in other stuff. I forget what though, but
also, somebody in the chat says how long till they remake the Bourne series? That one that will end up happening, but it's gonna
it's too soon.
I feel like you could get another Matt Damon movie out of there as Old Man Bourne again, and that last Bourne movie was not that good. Also, it would be
Bourne
interesting.
identity theft.
It'll be called Reborn. Duh. Like it'll be called Reborn. And the funny thing is, like by then, like they'll have to do it, but they'll have to make it without the shaky cam because it'll give him nausea because he's old and it makes him sick.
He has vertigo.
Yeah, he's got vertigo.
Jason Bourne with vertigo.
Mads Mikkelsen is a bad guy. He could play a bad guy again. I love Mads Mikkelsen in just about everything that he's in. But like, there's so many good actors that could do it that I think about it. But like a lot of them, it's like a lot of the actors I love are TV actors, so they're not going to get those roles. They're not like Tom Meissen is a great actor, but he's a stage and he's a television guy. He's not gonna like a lot of people early on thought Rami Malek could do it, but he's too short. Or I'm sorry, he's too.
He's 5'9".
Is he? Is
he that tall?
Is he?
Yeah.
He seems
I
short
looked
to
it
me.
up.
He seems really
he seems short to me. Like,
but he's also skinny.
yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, but
He
they
doesn't
give them
appear
time to
very
bulk
short.
up. They give them time to bulk up.
Sure.
Let's go to Superchats.
We need representation for short kings. Potatoes for Seamus.
Oh, by the way, as long as it's not Timothy Chalamet. No Timothy Chalamet as James Bond.
Oh, absolutely
no Tom
not.
Holland.
there would be
as James
riots in
Bond.
the streets.
Tom Holland maybe in like 20 years.
Well, he'll be too old by then. Like maybe.
No, but that's the thing. Tom Holland still
He
looks like
looks so
he's
young,
15.
yeah,
So
fair
when
point.
he's 40, it might work out.
Fair point.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Kellen, you better have Serge on with ya. Well, we can work on that. Yep. We can try to organize that.
Serge is always
we
doing
do want Serge on the show.
Stuff.
Also, for the people in the chat that are new, if they were wondering why there was like a bunch of money flying
Are
everywhere.
they confused?
Like, no, I don't know. Like if there's new people in the chat, I always imagine they come in and they're like, "What the hell is?"
Well,
going
I saw
on?
a comment one time that was like, "Is no one gonna address that there was paper flying in the air at like timestamp?" Like. This is just normal for us.
I can't get used to it. I flinch every time they go off.
They're going directly at you.
You're like when the party went off. You're like you actually looked mildly offended. Like he's like, what the hell is this?
Well, I was waiting for the ho 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 from the.
No,
Christmas
see now
season.
it's got to be like topical. Like what I need is people to send I need for us
send
like
suggestions.
How about the Ukrainian anthem?
We could do that. Like it's like a thing of Zelensky.
Copyright.
Right.
Copyright on the anthem. Alex Johnson said, Tim sent us here to make the money fly. Well, thank you. You did exactly that.
And you did. Thank you very much.
Sean Stevenson sent $5 without a message. Lori Ann sent $10 without a message. Thank you both. Not Alan Rogers said, Idris Elba is not a good James Bond. James Bond is a white man with black hair and blue eyes. Idris Elba is a black man with brown eyes. But I've seen other comments that are like, James Bond has to have brown hair and brown eyes.
Yeah,
and it's just like, can anyone agree on anything, please?
They definitely made a big deal about Daniel Craig having like blonde hair. They're like, it will never work.
You can literally dye it brown. Like, hello, people.
Also,
Pine.
I stick by it. I want Idris Elba to play a bad guy. He's so good. Look, I started rewatching Luther, where he's he's a good guy. But my love for him will always go back to The Wire.
But that's why James Bond, in my opinion, is an anti-hero. He is not necessarily super noble.
That's why you need Cillian Murphy with those world-weary eyes.
I love Cillian Murphy as James Bond.
Why, when he would be such a good Bond villain?
He would, though.
Everyone is a Bond villain for you. You're like, oh no, he can't be Bond. He's got to be a villain.
Let's face it, casting villains has to be way more fun.
Oh, absolutely.
It's why it's like a lot of the big joke is kind of it's like straight white guys only get to play villains now, which means they get to win again because you never hear a celebrity talking about wanting to play the good guy.
No, you do.
Now, but back in the day they wanted to play the
John
villain.
Leguizamo is out here complaining that he can never get the lead role because he's Hispanic and everyone's racist.
But really, so somebody says Hugh Laurie is Bond. Hugh Laurie would be a great villain.
Interesting.
He would be a great villain. Did you ever see?
What's that show he's got on?
He had a show called The Sixth. What's it called?
Bad Bunny for James Bond.
Bad Bunny for James. What was the show where Hugh Laurie plays the drug kingpin, and Pine plays the hotel? Oh, the night manager on Amazon Prime, and then he's also the one where he's on where he's the doctor.
House.
Chance. No. Chance. He's a psychologist in Chance. Now, House is the greatest show of all time. House is perhaps one of my favorite.
The greatest show of all time.
It could be.
Strong.
Imagine like an era where you were allowed to be just like that racist, sexist, misogynistic.
I was watching it the other day because I watched it as a kid and loved it, and I was rewatching it currently. Actually, funny enough, and I'm like, wow. This guy's he's a jerk.
Oh, he's awful.
He's awful.
It's a funny thing where it's like I was talking to somebody like, what are like roles that men can do and women can't do? I don't think you can do that role as a girl. I don't think it works as a girl. Like I would be interested in what the chat has to say. Like I don't think
Jackie. Similar character.
I didn't like that shit. But like he's bad in that. Like it's awful. But it's like at the same time he's humbled all the time. It's not like he gets it right all the time. He just gets it right at the end. And it's understood that he's not a good person. They don't portray him as a good person in that show. He's portrayed as an extremely flawed person who is a net positive for society because of what he provides in helping people. But he's not a good person. He regularly gets prostitutes because he can't keep a relationship. It's like
drugged out of his mind.
Yeah, just I mean maybe that's why it resonated with me when I was younger, but it was a different time. Like it was like that was and then Wilson, who you would traditionally think would be the hero of the show, is the sidekick.
Yeah.
Who's the goody two shoes guy who's really just an enabler. Who's a horrible enabler for him. So
man, that is a good show.
Alex Jones is Bond, somebody says.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
He just discovers
Alex Jones would be like
Spectre is all lizard people.
Lex Luthor.
yeah, there you go.
Big Dave sent 99 cents without a message, as per usual. Thank you.
Strong
Benjamin
silent
Mauser said, it's time to retire these wash and repeat movies and come up with new movie themes.
Mm-hmm. Then I ask Benjamin Mauser in the chat, what is a theme or a concept you would love to see implemented in a movie that would really liven up the screen now in a way that we're not seeing lately?
Space pirates.
So, Firefly from 2002?
We're getting to a point where it's all been done.
It's all been done.
Before,
like, I mean, space opera and like stuff like that. It's been.
Well, have you seen the new show with I know you guys were talking about Chloe Grace Moretz earlier. Have you seen her new show, Peripheral?
Yeah. I'm like 4 episodes in.
Born on it, but I like it's a fresh take. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. It's a fresh take on what they do.
I'm 4 episodes in. I think it's too. The pacing's too slow.
It is.
And it's too self-important. There's the one girl in the show who just you look at her. And you're like, who's the girl from, she's the girl from Harry Potter, but they wanted to get the girl from, who was in the Matrix Revolutions, the girl from, Iron Fist. She's like the only person that came out of Iron Fist that anyone actually liked. She played the character that was like in a relationship with Danny Rand, and nobody likes Danny Rand in that show, but they all love her. Mm-hmm. And that actress has kind of cornered the market on playing like punk girl character, like cyberpunk girl character, and they couldn't get that actress, so they got what's her name from from
well,
I do get that feeling from the show. I think they're relying on people having read the book.
Yeah,
and
I have not read the book.
It was just a boring, slow-paced show, and then they made it like, here's what sexism in gaming is going to look like 100 years from now.
Women aren't allowed to game.
The first 3 or 4 episodes are great, and then I think
I fell off after 3. I started 4. I got about halfway through. I thought the concept of her like in like a rural small town working at a 3D printing shop.
It's a weird dystopian. It reminds me of like kind of like Cyberpunk. It's like you're still in like the houses and the streets and cars haven't advanced, but everything else has. Like,
well, no, because like the cars, like the one guy, the disabled guy rides the motorcycle that has tech on it.
Sure.
Like so, like it is like weirdly cyberpunk, and it's like there's like she's using an ATM, but they're like nobody uses ATMs anymore.
Yeah.
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 So chat, I do want to know,
but ooh.
Yeah.
I do want the chat to let us know what they think would be a good concept that they think hasn't been done.
Ooh, Elliot Page is James Bond.
Well, someone said Millie Bobby Brown is going to transition to play James Bond. Horrifying.
Jane Bond.
Jane Bond. Carnell said, arguments for casting younger iterations for characters is a cop-out and goes out the window considering we have constant involving de-aging technology.
Yeah, but that runs up the budget in a way that like these are
It'll get easier though to do it.
These are higher budget movies. These are higher budget movies as it is, and like that. And let's face it, that only works in this scenario if you want to bring back an actor that's already played the role. There's no point in de-aging an older actor to play a role he's never played before. If you want to bring back Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, which I've actually supported the idea of doing an old man Bond with Pierce Brosnan, but that's just because I'm a stan for him as that character. You could do that and bring him back as that character and de-age him, but otherwise I don't see the utility in it.
We're going to come back to Super Chats later because we have a lot to get through, but the next topic, we are talking about the strange reason why Netflix shows are getting canceled before they have a chance to prove themselves. Their cult followings are very angry about it. So 1899 was the most recent victim of this trend. They are not going to get renewed for a second season, despite having a built-in audience who loved the show Dark.
Yeah.
They have failed a very strange test that Netflix does on new shows. It's called a 28-day rule, where they give a show merely 4 weeks to prove its potential for the next season to continue. Yep. And if they don't bring in enough viewership in just that 28-day period, they will not go on further. I
don't think it's about viewership. It's about viewership that actually completed the
show. They have to complete
actually
the whole show, which Netflix, of course, has the binge watching structure where you have to finish the show within that first 28-day period if you want it to be supported for a renewal.
And they've been loyal to that format. A lot of these other, whether it's Amazon Prime with Rings of Power, whether it's HBO Max with House of the Dragon, it's Disney. Disney lives and dies by releasing their Marvel shows. They do the thing. They release you 3 episodes right away, and then you go to weekly. And look, from a business perspective, it makes sense.
Right.
How long was She-Hulk in the news cycle? Because every week a new episode, and every week the director would say something ridiculously stupid that would make everyone want to just
that's
puke.
a separate issue. Like, I think
keeps it like
there are strengths
weekly.
and weaknesses to both models.
Well, exactly, because this model that Netflix has, it forces shows to reveal everything early in the series. There is no waiting for that awesome twist at the end.
Yep.
Which, have you guys watched 1899?
I do plan to watch it. Weirdly, like the demon inside me is like, you're better off watching it now because it won't get renewed and you won't have to commit as much. Like my commitment phobe is like weirdly in line with the commitment phobia of Netflix.
I don't commit to Netflix shows because I have no like.
It's scary.
I liked Archive 81. Nobody else liked Archive 81.
I liked it too. I just watched that. I liked it.
I thought it was slowly paced and I thought it was a little bit bland. But in general, I thought this is going to sound really lame. The lead actor had such a great voice. That like he had this like unique commanding voice that like to this day, like they say like someone's voice is the last thing, is like the first thing you forget about them. I can still remember that actor's voice in my head after hearing that. And I liked that show. But I knew as soon as I was halfway through, I'm like, there's no way this is getting a second season. There's no way it's getting a second season.
As fans of shows like that, what do you think, what power do you think we have, or what can we do to, if we see a show get canceled, to hopefully convince another platform to pick it up?
That's what I wanted to get into, because people are talking about Amazon Prime taking season 2 and 3 of Wednesday over now that they have purchased MGM.
Wednesday Addams, the Addams brand is owned by MGM, which just got purchased by Amazon Prime.
Alongside the hashtags that people are using to push for a renewal of these shows, they're also tagging like Amazon Prime, please make the next season of this show that got canceled by Netflix. It's not always feasible, but I've seen like change.org petitions
literally the least
about,
effective thing in the
I've
world.
only seen it
yeah,
work
they're the least
once.
effective thing ever.
In
But
fact,
like,
if you want something to not happen, the best thing you could do is to start a change.org.
I've seen the internet complaining work one time, and correct me if you guys know other examples, but the show Manifest. When that got canceled,
people love that show, and that got picked up by Netflix. Same
but
with,
to be fair,
Lucifer.
it went from cable to streaming platform.
That's
I
more
don't know
common.
if there's another example out there of a show getting resurrected.
No, the whole point, like one of the big things when Netflix first came around was they were like, this show is gonna get saved by Netflix. Lucifer got saved by Netflix. Like, and that went on to be. People would argue that Lucifer started off. It kind of did what Person of Interest did in that it started off serialized and be as an episode to episode. You could watch any episode and be. It's funny they were
right.
I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent. They're like talking about this new show called Kaleidoscope or whatever, like the one with Giancarlo Esposito. And they're talking about like you can watch it in any order. I'm like, so any network television show from like the last 30 years, I can watch any episode of NCIS in any order and it still makes sense. It's fine. But it's like the idea here is like the Manifest, Scott Foley, Lucifer were both shows that were on network television and got bought up by Netflix because, and that's been a thing for as long as network.
Black Mirror.
There was a show called Revolution that everyone wanted to get picked up by. It never did. A lot of those. Revolution was great. A lot of those shows were possible.
people are mentioning The Expanse.
Yeah.
Someone also said Lucifer got saved by Netflix. What a sentence. Very true.
Yes.
Very
Satan.
Yes, symbolic. So like, as far as these change petitions go, I see over 100,000 signatures on the one for Warrior Nun, and we talked about that getting canceled after 2 seasons because people who were complaining about that show getting discontinued, along with other ones that had LGBT main characters, they're baselessly claiming that it feels targeted against LGBT viewers and actors, when in reality that just has no evidence. And I saw from that Save Warrior Nun petition, it said it first highlighted the identity politics. They said, Netflix decided to cancel further seasons of Warrior Nun, and we will not sit quiet about this. Over 1.3 million tweets on the hashtag Save Warrior Nun were accumulated within 3 days of this news, and it now has 4 million plus tweets. This show was extremely... people who think Twitter is reality. Yeah. This show was extremely important for representation, including POC, female-led cast, LGBTQ. After the recent cancellations of other sapphic content, such as The Wild's First Kill, and I am not okay with this, lately more commonly canceled by Netflix, a renewal would be extremely meaningful to a community that feels constantly underrepresented, misrepresented, and undervalued in media. Like, I can't think of a take more divorced from reality than LGBT people are underrepresented in media right now, especially in television.
Yeah.
Like,
I
that's
disagree.
crazy.
What was that movie that flopped because it was just
Bros?
Bros, but that's like a case where you should not have given that a theatrical release.
That was a
stupid
release.
decision.
That should have never been in the
there's
theaters.
plenty of representation in that movie.
Well, yeah, that's what we're saying. They're saying is like there is nothing. There is no take more just blatantly either a lie or somebody that has no clue what's going on in the world to say.
So
that
contrast that with the change petition on 1899's behalf that has less than half the amount of signatures, and it says something very simple. 1899 was created with multiple seasons in mind. There are a lot of unanswered questions and a big cliffhanger at the end of the last episode. We want a renewal of the show and a proper end to the story. So less than half of the people went and signed this petition, and I can tell that it's because identity politics is always going to mobilize people on the internet more than a genuine enthusiasm for the content. Like, it's kind of disheartening to see that
They're
trend.
not talking about the show. They're talking about what the show means for a cultural movement.
What I think it might be, though, is 1899 was good. Did they release their viewership numbers or no?
I mean, I don't
they
trust.
Just said it was below the threshold.
I don't trust them anyways.
Well, before it came out, there was this writer or artist or whatever. She said Netflix stole the show from her. She said,
Yeah.
I went to them with a proposal
we
for
talked about that.
$18.99 and they rejected me. And next thing I know, I see it being produced.
Have you ever seen that story?
Maybe this is their way of saying.
But there are some people saying like the plagiarism rumor is total BS because the only similarity is it has to do with the triangle.
Have you ever seen that thing about the lady who says that she wrote The Matrix and it was stolen by the Wachowskis? There's this
That's
lady,
absurd.
Yeah, no, there's this lady who says that the Wachowskis stole The Matrix for her, and she's been saying it for like 20 years.
I think that they stole the Matrix from themselves to reinterpret it later as like gender ideology propaganda.
Speaking of what you said about here are the shows that got canceled just in the last year. So another the big problem with this list is you haven't heard of 3/4 of them.
Right.
And then they claim that they're on all of these top 10 lists. But they're only there when they put out the pilot or the first few episodes and it's top 10 on Netflix for a day or a week.
Yep.
That's not long-lasting enthusiasm for something. Then they survive merely on a very cult following, and that's just not enough to get mainstream support.
It's the same thing that happens whenever a comic writer, whenever they get told that the comic industry is doing horrible, they're like, well, look at my book. It's on the Amazon top 10. And it's for 1 hour on the date of this date to this date, it was there for 1 hour. You can lie. Have you seen that photo of Bill Gates holding the book, How to Lie with Numbers? It's very easy to lie with numbers.
And they do it all the time.
It's one of the reasons why I don't take I don't use a lot of data referenced and stuff like this, because it's so easy for all sides to lie with numbers. What you can't lie about is what feels right. Everyone right now knows about Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday is extremely culturally relevant in all spheres.
But it's because people are lazy. People want what's familiar and comforting and easy to consume, right? And I think that's the other issue with everything being everything's a remake. I mean, they would stop doing it if it wasn't selling.
Okay, but that's not the point. We're not talking about the efficacy of remakes right now.
No,
right?
I understand.
We're talking about how something becomes relevant enough to the point where you don't need a bunch of people starting letter writing campaigns to say that it needs to continue.
Yeah.
I go on Instagram. If you open Reels, it's half Wednesday Addams dances. People doing their own version of it, or it's people have remixed it to I've seen so many songs now besides just the Lady Gaga one that they're doing to remix it to. And Jenna Ortega is legitimately becoming a star.
Yeah.
Now.
Right.
So you can't fake that.
It's just the Addams Family has been done.
Well, with your point about people want something familiar and comfortable, that is true. But I think a lot of the Gen Z viewers who are really into Wednesday right now were first introduced to the Addams Family lore and franchise by just this series and it going viral on TikTok. Basically these days, if you don't have meme potential, TikTok potential, it's done. Okay,
that was actually on my list of things I wanted to talk about. What is a middle ground? Not everything, you said this yesterday, not every show can have meme potential.
Yeah.
It just isn't true.
And it also depends on the age demographic you're going for.
So they talked about, I talk endlessly about Reacher, Terminalist. Those shows both got renewals and are coming back on Amazon Prime. But nobody really wants to meme those shows. They don't fit that demographic.
Because they're serious in tone.
They're serious in tone, so they don't need to be memed. But Wednesday isn't necessarily serious but unserious, right? So it's where do you find that middle ground? What's another example of a show that's out right now? Manifest might be a good example. I mean, that just got a 4th season, right?
Right.
Longmire was the quintessential first example of a show that I remember getting saved. It got canceled twice by multiple networks. That was never going to get meme potential back in 2012. What now? What's an example of a show that isn't meme heavy that's still culturally relevant? Even superhero stuff isn't necessarily about the memes. Superheroes are just culturally significant. Spider-Man No Way Home survived, though, in a lot of ways because how many people were making memes about Spider-Man. TikTok presence for Spider-Man No Way Home was huge. They did a lot. They got a lot of free marketing on TikTok and on Instagram and on social media with people because people love to dress up as Spider-Man.
Right.
So it's you can't have your show can't live and die just on the show now. It has to be multifaceted.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's just a natural result of people getting constantly inundated with content. And you get decision anxiety, which everyone experiences.
I just go back to my old...
And that's why, why would I commit to one series, finishing it in a binge watch session, in a very short period of time if I want it to continue. Thank you.
Woo!
It's happening again.
And now I'm wondering, why is Netflix being so cutthroat with the content they allow on their platform now, when in the past it seemed like they were more open to giving certain shows a chance, like there was more original content getting renewed.
Bad economy.
People are saying that this looks like a platform self-sabotaging its own success when, like, thank you.
Bad economy, recession. They can't in a drop in literally losing subscribers for the first time in history.
I can't imagine the solution to dropping subscriber numbers is making higher
I was
prices.
also thinking this. So they're citing this didn't get enough, $18.99 didn't get enough viewership in their 28-day period. Well, you know what else Netflix is doing? Cracking down on password sharing.
Yes.
Yep.
So how do you know that one account wasn't responsible for 10, 15 views?
Well, remember, they're not just talking about views. They're talking about finishing the series.
No, but that's what I mean.
Account.
So, like, let's say Pop Culture Crisis. Let's say we all shared the same Netflix account, and we all took time to independently watch $18.99. That's going to count as one watch through.
Really?
Even if we all
I thought they
watched it.
counted hours of watch time.
But for
Right?
probably it has to be for unique
It
accounts.
still might it still might matter. Like saying now this person really liked it enough to watch it through twice. Like that's crazy.
Maybe.
Like why was this person
But
watching
of course, again, there's no transparency about how
Yeah.
they calculate these things, so we have no idea how it actually works.
And it could just be a way to, like, oh, it could be a tax write-off. Oh, look how much money we lost on this project.
It also reminds me of this quote from James Marsden because he was talking about the cancel of Westworld, which is like ridiculously expensive. And even Mary
That sucks,
understood
too.
that. Mary disagrees that the show went woke in season 2, but understands that the show got really bad in season 2.
It was so lazy. Even in just the first episode of season 2, I checked out.
But here's this quote that he has. It says, "The star explained that he knows such decisions often come down to money. I totally understand it's an expensive show, and big shows have to have big audiences to merit the expenses. I just wish it was about more than the financial success." Well, yes, I would like...
That must be
I
so
would like
hard for you.
rainbows and ponies and unicorns and other like not realistic ideas. It's a business.
I saw a
At
similar
the end of the
quote
day, it's
from,
a business.
Yeah, I saw a similar quote from somebody who was on the finale of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And of course, that was like unanimously hated by people viewing the show. And he was just like, you know, I didn't feel any particular way about it. I think that there were some fun things about that season. And, you know, there are things that you can appreciate about it. It's unfortunate. But, like, there's never an admission that they went wrong somewhere.
No, they can't ever do that. It's funny, too, because, like, when you do that, it's like human psychology. People are more willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? When they screwed up the design on Sonic, and they're like, look, we understand that this looks like an absolutely terrifying example of something that should have never been made.
That looks like something that you would shoot if it came in your backyard.
Like we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it, and it was rewarded by doing very, very well. Got a sequel. The sequel did well. It's getting a third film. A little bit of humility goes a long way in an industry full of like annoying rich millionaires. Like, and I'm
a little bit of mutual respect
Yeah.
with the audience
Goes a long
way these days.
So yeah, I mean that's not the first show, and it will not be the last show. I don't commit to Netflix shows for this exact reason.
I am gonna watch the season of 1899 though.
It's one of the reasons
good.
that I love Amazon Prime is like the shows that I've liked on Amazon Prime tend to be fine because I like those genres that seem to be in that niche that they're left alone. Even Jack Ryan, which had an objectively awful season 2, got a season 3, and I'm like,
Amazon just seems to be throwing money at literally everything.
Bezos is like, oh, I found another.
I don't know. Amazon, I think, is doing better than Netflix. They've got less original content, but I think they hit more often than they miss.
Well,
currently.
and Amazon Prime also has the ability to, connect you with, you can subscribe to other channels through Amazon
Right.
Prime.
Yeah.
By the way, you should never do that. Never. First of all, it's because me and Mary will tell you there's no worse fast forward and rewind button than the Amazon Prime
it
fast
is
forward and
so
rewind.
bad.
So there's no point in signing up for like Paramount Plus on Amazon Prime because then you're stuck with the Amazon Prime fast forward and rewind button. Just go get it on the app.
Yeah.
The binge model on Netflix, I think, is just unfortunate because I thought of it as a way that you have control of the pace that you watch things, not the platform that's giving it to you. and yet they're still imposing basically a deadline on how you finish a show.
I liked what the BBC did for a while, where they'd release, like when Sherlock was on TV, right? They'd release, it's a long show, it's like an hour and a half, and then release it once a month. And I'm like, that works, because it's almost like a movie.
And only like 6 episodes a season, because that's usually how UK television was.
Or on the flip side, like the show Lost, they had 20-ish episodes per season, and like we're not seeing that type of effort anymore.
I still love the 24 episode network television model. I don't want hour and a half episodes. I want 42 freaking minutes, 42 minutes and 50 seconds on the dot. Every episode.
But if Netflix could keep their binge model, release 5-6 episodes at a time, and do it quarterly, and have 20 episodes for the season.
Now they're breaking stuff up into part 1 and 2. They're milking.
Hate that.
They're milking. Well, that's for contractual reasons. Like they contract someone for a certain amount.
Like I don't want to talk about Stranger Things season whatever, volume whatever.
They're doing it.
I want to talk about the season.
I didn't finish Ozark
so
for this
confusing.
reason. I completely lost all interest in Ozark because they released it in 2 parts. So I've watched after 3 seasons, and that's that.
They're doing that to The Witcher now. They're releasing the Henry Cavill's last season in 2 parts to milk the
new Witcher's not Henry. I thought it was.
No, he's still doing season 3, but they're going to release
what's this new Witcher show that's
No, it's the same. No, Blood Origin just came out. Everyone hates it.
Yeah.
But Liam Hemsworth is taking
the next
over
Witcher for the last season.
And they're
what
talking
I suspect will be the last season.
So, but yeah, they're milking that by turning Henry Cavill's last season into a part 1 and a part 2.
Lovely.
Like poor Henry Cavill.
Yay.
Poor Henry Cavill. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Nilfinity said, do you think that the woke changes in Hollywood is going to change after Bros failed so bad, or do you think that the woke credit is more important than money?
No,
we are in a post-profit
it's your fault
era.
that Bros failed. Remember that.
No, we are in a post-profit era. Profit doesn't matter. None of these companies make any shows or anything that make money, but they still they're failing on the stock market. Look at Disney is down to its worst stock price since 1974. Netflix is on track to lose subscribers in the UK again this year. Nobody cares.
Billy Eichner blaming his own failure for his movie on homophobia is something that will tell you all you need to know about the failure of Bros. It's never a teaching moment for Hollywood.
No, well, also
it's always a way they can point fingers at everybody else.
And let's face it, that wasn't a failure of even the movie. It was a failure of the studio choosing to release it in theaters.
There were some questionable things about that movie,
but we were never going to watch it. Like me and you and the average person was never going to watch it. The people that were going to watch,
they assumed we were.
The people that were going to watch Bros were always going to be like at home on a Friday night, be like, oh look, it's on streaming. I'll click and watch it on streaming.
Do you guys remember that? I don't know if you guys watch Family Guy at all, but when Peter did that bit with Billy Eichner. It was Billy on the street, and he's just going around screaming at people.
That's the reason. That's the reason you have to hate.
Oh, like when that chick with the blonde wig yelled at him, I was like, "Go off, Queen!" Like he was so annoying in that video. That was my first introduction to Billy Eichner.
Really?
My impression, all respect lost. That was horrible.
They needed to release that movie on streaming. Those movies, everyone knows if you go onto any of the streaming services, there's all these subcategories. Elevate Black Voices, LGBTQIA movies. They have these sections where if you're into that content, if you're looking for that type of movie, you can go click on that tab and go find it. That movie would have done fine on streaming.
I wonder, I would love to see the demographics for who's actually the click-through demographics for those categories to see who's actually clicking on those, because I guarantee it is 1 to 2% of Netflix's viewer base.
Because for me, it's just immediately no. Immediately, I'm not.
I mean, if a show happens to that's the thing. If a show is good enough and it has it
doesn't need
Mr. Robot was a good example of that. They're one of the main villains was, I'm pretty sure, was transgender.
Yeah.
They don't make any they don't allude to that in any way. It's just a good written character, and the actor happened to be transgender. And I'm like, cool.
I believe there was one as well in Billions.
Was there?
In Billions. That was at a time where it was at the time it was a novelty, and the writers knew that they had to be deft in their writing to insert the character there. Now it's just here it is, in your face. Look. Are you looking? Look, bigot.
Because as far as the character of White Rose, though,
exactly. That's
I almost felt like that character was based loosely on Xi Jinping, and then they made that character a cross-dresser or trans or whatever you would like to call that. in order to mock Xi Jinping.
Maybe.
And then made him a Trump supporter.
But my whole point is, if you really
that was
want
kind of crazy.
if you really want to be inclusive, like, that's a good way to do it,
I
right?
guess,
You're not saying,
like, it's a
hey,
flyby
everyone,
thing.
like, look how woke and awesome we are. No, you're just giving an opportunity to someone who may have had trouble.
Here's a good example. There's a show that I absolutely loved called Power with Omari
Yeah.
Hardwick. That show would end up on Stars under Elevate Black Voices. It doesn't need to be. It's a good show.
by itself.
It's an incredible show on its own.
Someone said Jenna Ortega is being raised up like a cult leader. As soon as she says the wrong thing, they'll drop her like She-Hulk drops that ass.
Well, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So, yeah, let's go. Let's keep going.
LOL. Project Utopian said, like, comment, be involved. Happy New Year.
No, well, thank you. And
Happy
yes,
New Year to you as well.
we do need everyone to like, share, comment, subscribe, leave comments on the videos and like the videos. I never do it. Tim's so good at telling people to do that, so I always forget.
What is up, YouTubers?
Yes.
Smash that like button.
Here we don't encourage smashing the like button here. We're more kind here. We say, would you please gently tap the like button ever so softly.
Man, that's lame.
High Voltage 75 said, how's the cat doing, Brett?
Bocus, Bocus
is no longer in your exclusive care.
He's not in my exclusive care anymore now that Tim and everyone is back. But he left as healthy as he was when he showed up. Like, I feel like he was in better shape when he left than when he showed up. Like, he was more limber. He was getting around better. He seemed like he was eating better. So hopefully he's doing okay. We love you, Bocus.
Waffle Sensei said, yo, let's just bring back Brosnan as an old man Bond for one movie. I would go.
Yeah, did anybody see he did a spy movie called The November Man? That was it was very much like DVD bin spy thriller, but I love Brosnan, so he was great.
The Last of My Kind said, PCC, best thing to listen to while remodeling.
Oh, what are you remodeling?
Love people just going about their daily lives listening to PCC.
It is the biggest honor to be part of people's lives while they're living like just whatever they're doing with their daily life.
Painting
or
a dresser.
Like that was my whole life before working here. It was like listening to podcasts at work. So it is an honor and a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Micah Heglin said, nerds, I hope everyone is well. Happy New Year. I'm very hurt by that.
Why? Why are you hurt by that?
Called us nerds.
Well, look, I do wear glasses. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, if you wore glasses, you were a nerd. Also, in the chat recently, somebody called me Four Eyes, and I was here for it. I loved it. I was
Bring back Four Eyes.
I was like, dude, let's go. That was great. Like, that's I mean, it's better than people wearing glasses. Like, my biggest pet peeve is people wearing fake glasses. Fake glasses should be banned.
Well, I think they're cool.
No. Would you wear a hearing aid for fashion? A fake hearing aid?
I think that's.
I might now.
But if you're gonna push me, I might.
Okay. Fair
Johnny
enough.
Derp said they want representation in the established roles the same way women want it in prestige jobs like Congress, but not in sewers. That is all. Very true. They always complain about, POC only gets supporting roles. POC only get to be villains, blah, blah, blah. Like, nothing's ever good enough.
There's this lady who does, like, she's like an Instagram thought, and she, like, works construction, and that's, like, her thing on Instagram. It's like, I'm a thought.
That's her shtick.
I'm a thought that, like, does... Or like,
being an Instagram thought is just her side hustle.
Yeah, no, but it's like she's a Instagram thought with a gimmick. It's not construction. She's like works road crew.
Okay.
She works on the highway.
So she watches other people work.
I mean, I can't speak to whether she does or not, but I love the idea that you just find your niche, right? You're like, okay, I got the thought part down. Now I need to find, like, what's my niche that would be a traditionally, like, male role. Like, I'm sure there's thought house builders, and there probably is an Instagram thought sewer worker who's like, see, women do want to be in the sewers.
It's the new season of Dirty Jobs is a whole new meaning.
Yeah, or it's like I'm sure there's a thought plumber somewhere that probably exists.
Easy.
And she's just like, and she does the thing where, like, the plumber bends over. She's like, but you like it when she does it.
This is so crass. Not Alan Rogers said, can PCC talk about the reboot of the Clancyverse?
They're saying I said niche wrong. I said niche, both.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm more
both
of a
work?
fan of saying niche than niche.
Say that last one again.
Can PCC talk about the reboot of the Clancyverse?
Is that the one? Because didn't they just recently do that? Are we talking books? or are we talking shows? Like, because I know they're redoing Jack Ryan after this, and I know that they wanted to do who's the other one? I would have to know more about what you're talking about, but I would be interested. That genre interests me way more than any of the other stuff. So
okay. Porco Rosso Forever said Cillian Murphy can't be Bond. He looks too sensitive. He looks like he takes mental health days. I don't think so. I think he looks
in a serial killer way.
He looks just world weary. You know,
he looks
that's
like
a good quality for a Bond.
He'd be a good dark Bond, like a good Bond that's like on the edge.
Of course, Brett is going to push back on that because he hates everything dark and gritty.
I hate the idea of him specifically as Bond.
Didn't you like the Robert Pattinson Batman?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like that movie.
He's in the minority on that.
I didn't like that movie. I thought it was
okay.
I thought it was self-important and annoying.
Okay, it says this is an article from back in 2021. Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, he's in Without Remorse.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The Last of My Kind said Henry Cavill as live action Sterling Archer.
I like that.
Who?
Henry Cavill.
Is he funny enough?
Look, here's the thing. Henry Cavill, like people were talking about like Henry Cavill should get Bond. He's a rich dude who loves Warhammer 40K. Like he's fine. He's going to get to play in his own sandbox now and make something he actually wants to make. Like, imagine a guy who feels like he's been interfered with constantly. You've been Superman for that long. They're also talking about him as Captain Britain in Marvel. So he'll be fine. Like, you don't get to be, like, that handsome, that buff, that talented at acting and not succeed.
See, that's where I think Aaron, is it Taylor or Tyler Johnson?
Taylor
Johnson. I think he'd be a perfect Sterling Archer. Because of what we saw with Bullet Train.
Yeah,
that character is Sterling Archer, in my opinion.
You could be right about that.
Would you be anti a Lemon and Tangerine spinoff?
No, they should definitely do that and not do a Bullet Train too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
but you
much
can't
better.
Because
or a Prince reboot, like spinoff for Prince. Because I really liked her.
How do we do that given Tangerine's fate in the movie? Without spoiling.
It's before. It's all.
Okay, I didn't like it when they did it with Black Widow.
Timeline jumping.
I don't like the timeline. I guess it's different because Marvel's as a linear.
Well, in that case,
set it up though.
In
with
that
the
case, I want to see Joey
job
King as the prince more, because like she was run over by a car, but she wasn't definitively like killed.
Right.
You know. Charles Snoopy said Bradley Bradshaw for next Bond. Changed my mind. Love you all. Keep up the great work.
Also, there was another name that I remembered. There's an actor named Luke Mitchell. Luke Mitchell was on the show Blind Spot. He played Jamie Alexander's evil brother, and he's got a great look. He is blonde. He's lighter skinned, like lighter haired, but he's got a great look to him. He's right in that age range. He's like 34. That might put him at the older end of what they're looking for right now, but he's a handsome dude. I think he could play a good Bond, especially because like most of the time he's got facial hair and he looks vastly different when he's got a shaved face. So I think he could do it.
BMF Nate Dogg said James Franco can play any role. I don't know.
Is he uncanceled?
He'd be good. He'd be a
I
good
don't think
Sterling
he was
Archer.
ever canceled though.
He was like,
people kind of just ignored that any of that.
Like, is he allowed to? If like one day he goes to a producer, he's like, look, people are hiring are hiring what's his name from House of Cards. Kevin Spacey. They're like, he's like, you guys are hiring Kevin Spacey. So what if I had a weird class about sex scenes in Hollywood and just taught a class about sex scenes?
Yeah.
Like, imagine
specifically for women, not men.
Imagine being like a guy in Hollywood right now and thinking it's a good idea to teach a class about sex scenes in Hollywood. Like, you might as well
absolute temerity.
You might as well just be like, I'm gonna like let you guys file the lawsuits before we start the class, so we can get ahead of the curve and get it over with.
Michael Aleo said they already made the bumbling idiot Bond movie. It was Rowan Atkinson as Johnny English. Yeah.
Rowan Atkinson.
Been there, done that. Francisco Sanchez Jr. said Andrew Tate as Bond and Greta Thunberg as M.
Let's go. Oh, no, wait.
Please, no.
Andrew, Greta Thunberg can play Moneypenny, and because it's a love story.
Ugh.
And as we know, the secret love affair is between Greta Thunberg and Andrew Tate. Like, that's what it's all about. I
don't even want to think about this. Clef the Misfit. Wait, what?
was gonna say Greta Thunberg would be like Samuel L. Jackson's character in that in the Kingsman.
Yeah. Hey, I like. Hey, that's the other one that Aaron Taylor Johnson was in. He was in
Yep.
the most recent Kingsman movie. That's that one was okay. It was very paint by numbers.
It should have stayed in one movie.
But a lot of people believe that that they didn't need to go past. That's kind of like its own. I understood where they saw it and they're like, oh my God, we could branch out and do more with this. But that's a stylistically specific movie.
It was a weird, quiet release too.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yep.
I was like, it's a sequel. I was
Yeah.
like, huh.
And then King's Man, they're like, what is the King's Man? Wasn't it King's Men? It's kind of like when they made Suicide Squad and then The Suicide Squad, and then people expected. Mary's like, I can't believe they had the gall to expect people to know the difference between The Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad.
You think you're way more important than you are.
I thought it was the same movie.
Exactly.
For a while.
A lot of people did. Clef the Misfit said he's essentially blackballed at this point, but Henry Cavill would make a good live action Archer. I don't think that he's blackballed. That's a bit of an overstatement, but he hasn't been winning a lot recently. Elijah Borges said, can you guys discuss creative media that challenge the line between art or exploitation, tasteful or tasteless? I'm talking certain works that have merit but arouse concerns regarding its morality. We are going to talk about that later in the show in relation to Romeo and Juliet from 1968.
A very specific example of that today.
So we'll get into that later.
Let's do one more and then we'll move on.
All right. Martin Santiago said, thoughts on Genshin Impact, fountain pens, and who do you guys watch on YouTube?
No comment on the first ones, and not my genres. But who do you watch on YouTube, Mary?
I am obsessed with HRH Collection. I think that she voices the strongest opinions on things that are ordinarily thought of as very superficial.
Okay.
For instance, she's yelling at the camera saying I go to the mall and there's nothing to buy, and I'm like, this is the stuff I complain about. I
Mary
feel so
literally
represented.
came in one day and said that. Mary, she's like, I was at the store.
I had a nightmare about that. That's not even something that really happened. But I was I had a nightmare where I went to the mall and then none of the stores had anything to buy. It was horrible. But then she's
first world
she's
problems.
super anti-woke. I think she went on Amala's show also.
Okay.
And I think she's just really cool and she has good taste and good jewelry.
Anybody else?
What, just any YouTuber?
Yeah. Any YouTubers?
I like to watch
Mr. Beast?
the B1M. He's it's in an engineering channel. He talks about different world projects and construction stuff going on all over the world. And it's short 15-minute videos. I don't know. It's the nerd in me enjoys them.
There's a place for everybody on that app.
I mean, for me, I don't watch that's. I watched way more YouTube before I YouTubed for work.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
I still watch. I watch the Critical Drinker whenever.
Yep.
Critical Drinker is the closest thing that I can say to, other than Styx Hexenhammer, obviously for different genres, of people that I consider their content good enough that I watch all of whatever they make, even if it's not something that I would normally care about. I'm a little bit less interested in the Styx stuff nowadays because that's he's how I stay mildly politically informed. I cared way more about politics, oddly enough, before I worked here. I just did. I don't really. Well,
now you have less time to be researching politics, and you have to dedicate more to researching what we talk about.
Other than that, I listen to Solomonster Sounds Off, which is a wrestling podcast.
Nice.
I still love. I don't watch wrestling. Wrestling is kind of it's kind of what we do here. A lot of people I watch you guys so that I don't have to watch the movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's I watch wrestling podcasts, or I listen to wrestling podcasts so that I don't have to actually watch wrestling anymore because I just don't have the time, and it's kind of heartbreaking. So.
I just started watching CoffeeZilla too because of that whole Logan Paul stuff going on.
And I watch all Ryan Long videos. When Ryan Long videos come out, I will watch the Ryan Long videos. So
someone said Mary watches kids YouTube.
That's true.
That's true. I watch Cocomelon every time.
Oh my god.
So some days I'm Mary's having a bad day, and I just put a laptop.
Play the jingle.
I just put
and
a
I'm
laptop.
Whoa, where did that come from?
All right, let's
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yes, we're going to talk about Jenna Ortega. She has been smeared as an anti-Semite.
Of course.
By a journalist who was surprised by that.
Well,
in an article titled Jenna Ortega versus Kanye, whose anti-Semitic hate is worse? You tell me. This same journalist in that article called her dangerous to the safety of Jewish people. And then in another article,
I love the hyperbole.
Called her a poster child for Hamas.
Oh.
And by now you're probably wondering, whatever did she do wrong? She
What did she do,
tweeted
Mary?
some stuff. She tweeted some stuff that this journalist did not like.
Dare she.
Here is what she said. We must never give up on the people of Ukraine, Yemen, Palestine, Kashmir, Iraq, Syria. The list goes on, unfortunately. For anyone who's willing and wanting to contribute any way they can, I want to form a thread with information. And does anyone have resources or links they could add? And on that thread, she just, promoted some links to fundraisers that are toward, Ukraine, Iraq, Syria, all of these humanitarian causes. One of them was to a website called Decolonize Palestine. Here is what the article that is smearing her said. At first glance, it seemed in keeping with previous social media posts, she has championed the cause of Planned Parenthood, Ukrainians, women of Iran, and children in Iraq and Yemen. However, the Decolonize link was a list of, pay close attention, talking points in line with Hamas. Huge logical leap there, I'd like to point out. And then I think it's absolutely absurd to be comparing her to Ye as if they're competing to become the biggest anti-Semite in Hollywood or something. Like, I have mixed opinions of Ye, sure, but his comments and his rhetoric are obviously far more inflammatory and explicit than anything Jenna Ortega has posted. This was also all the way back in March.
They also talk about this, they say it's well-intentioned but bad, right? What they're saying is she's tweeting without thinking, right? She's not
Right.
she's not looking at the links.
She's a Zoomer actress.
Exactly.
I'm sure that she thinks, she's been told at least, that she needs to use her platform for good. She is not very informed. She's just naive. And I do think that as an actress, she shouldn't be inundating people on social media with all of her political opinions, regardless of what they are, because I find that behavior weird and irritating.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? She's 20 years old and she was just posting the things that people were suggesting to her.
So there's this weird trend among people, I would say, that are under 25, and it's total support for Palestine. Palestine is viewed as this country that's just been crapped on for centuries, and they need to be free, they need to be independent, uninformed maybe, but it is just a trend amongst the Zoomer generation.
It is very new, and it feels very new to me.
This journalist knows exactly. I don't know if it's a guy.
Yes,
girl.
his name is
guy
Daniel
knows,
Margolis.
He is very smart, right? Because he knows this is an inflammatory headline that's going to get clicks.
Yep.
Kanye's huge. Jenna Ortega
he's
is on top of the freaking world with Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that this is he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
If he wanted to be more genuine, he could talk about.
It's intellectually dishonest what he's doing.
Yeah. And if he wanted to be more genuine, he could talk about that phenomenon, that what's up with the West and young people ignoring Israel's issues and only focusing on Palestine's issues, right? And be that'd be a good read. That would be genuine. Explore that, because that is happening. They're not focusing on Jenna Ortega's silly little tweets. But he knows what he's doing, and it's getting clicks.
Yeah, it's getting clicks, but thankfully most of the people that are seeing this headline are seeing right through it, that it's not genuine. One person said, I read the headline at first and got worried that Jenna Ortega had said something horrible, but nope. The word implicitly is doing a lot of work here.
Yeah.
It's just that abuse of language to defame people. I think this is cut and dry defamation at this point. If Johnny Depp has grounds to sue Amber Heard for defamation, I can't think of a way that this wouldn't be a slam dunk for Jenna Ortega if she cared enough.
I know
this.
He's literally calling her a danger to the safety
but he's
of
not
Jewish
saying,
people.
But he's not saying that she said anything. He said this is why she is a danger. It's an opinion. I don't think it's defamation.
My favorite part of the Israel-Palestine issue is that whenever it comes up, I get to just kick back and say, I don't know crap about it. I mean, I do, but it's I only know enough to know that I don't know enough. and that like I know that America is extremely like I watch old TV shows like if you my favorite thing, somebody earlier in the chat mentioned the show 24. I love like 2004 era network television with anything government, because it's like it's the most neocon of neocon ages, and it's like 24, it's like we're going after the terrorists, and like NCIS was super like let's talk pro-Israel, like we're working with Mossad and all these things.
What was the one with where like the Capitol building blew up?
Designated survivor. Like it's just like it's like I know enough to know that I don't know enough about the Israel-Palestine conflict, and I know that it's not my business.
Yeah, but of course, if you're in the shoes of Jenna Ortega,
she's been told it has to be her business.
She's been told not only is it your moral duty to post these political causes on social media, but also it's going to be lucrative for you because you're making a name for yourself as a humanitarian activist as well as an entertainer.
Are any of these actors going to push back and be like, I demand to not be a humanitarian? Like, I just want to be a selfish actor.
As you say,
Right.
Please be actively anti-activist and people will like you a hell of a lot more. But I understand why someone at her age would not understand that yet, and the nefarious reasons that she's being encouraged to post things like this. I think it's annoying whenever celebrities try to force their political beliefs down people's throats, whether they're right-wing, left-wing, somewhere in between, somewhere entirely other than that. You're here to entertain people, not to inform us about geopolitics. Yep. When people, like, for instance, when we criticize the celebrities being extremely vocal about the Roe v. Wade incident, it got overturned earlier in 2022. We weren't point by point going through their tweets and doing rebuttals to all of the points they were making. What we were doing is making fun of them for distracting from the merits of their work to get cheap attention online to virtue signal.
See, but that doesn't bother me, because even though they're famous and they're people, and people have takes on different things, what really bugs me are the people who expect them to do it, right? Yeah. Like the mob, the online internet mob, who are like,
why aren't you talking about this?
You have 50,000 followers. Why aren't you doing anything?
Use your platform for good.
Like, instead of telling other people what they should be using their platform to promote, how about you grow a platform for yourself and stop complaining?
Exactly.
That's what I always think.
Exactly.
But they're not capable of doing that because they can only destroy and deride and denigrate people, and they never create anything new. They never do anything good for others. Well, they only tell other people to do it for them.
Were you here the other night when Kaya, I think that's how you say her name,
Libs of TikTok
was here?
Yeah.
Well, she told her story and how the account got started. And she's like, I just was complaining about the stuff I saw. And it started gaining steam. It started gaining traction. She didn't go to any popular influencer and be like, you need to repost these TikToks, right? You need to use your platform to expose what they're doing to children and this craziness. Yeah. No, she's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a Twitter account and I'm going to expose this craziness on TikTok. Yeah. You know, as a perfect example.
You only have your own voice.
Now she's wildly successful, right? And it goes to show that if you truly work hard for yourself, you can succeed.
Even this headline is just so over the top. Whose hate is worse? And then they show this picture of this just child looking person.
Literal, like,
a 16-year-old child.
Kid.
This kid does not know how to hate yet. Like, she has not been alive long enough to be that hateful.
And it's a misleading title, knowingly doing this to assassinate her character, when later in the article you see him admit that this is likely out of ignorance and not malice.
Yeah, he says.
Why are you saying she has anti-Semitic hate, and then later in the article outwardly saying that she doesn't?
Yep. You're
trying to assassinate her character and get her angry fans to pay attention to your article and click on it.
Which is worse too, because it's very purposeful, and it's very pointed, and it's very, very intelligently done, just in a way that's like I hate it. I hate having to see the intersection of these issues with actors, but the actors do it to themselves. She could just not talk about it. She could.
Or just quietly donate.
Or
but it has to create a Twitter thread.
Yeah, look, people are addicted to the likes and the retweets. They think that that says something about who they are. It does not. Like, it means nothing. And it's like one of these things is like, do you ever feel like for me, I have a hard time, like when I said earlier, I said, look, I know enough about Israel-Palestine to know that I don't know enough about Israel-Palestine to give a strong opinion one way or the other. To even have a take. To even have a take, right? I think there's power in that. I think but there is no power for them because the people that they're courting don't appreciate nuance and they don't appreciate humility. They appreciate bending the knee to their will and promoting the ideas that they want to promote. And it's of her generation, right? Have you ever seen that meme? It says like Israel-Palestine war for thousands of years, and it says like 21-year-old girls in college. Can't we all just get along? Like it's like,
well, if no one thought of that before.
21-year-old white girls in America. Can't we all just get along? Like blew my mind.
Great idea.
Someone in the chat said Jenna Ortega is going to go on InfoWars.
Dude, like put on the GIMP mask.
Yeah, just like yay, she's following in her idol's footsteps.
Funny.
No, let's compare this to like our conversations about the Balenciaga scandal, right? Because I went really hard on Kim Kardashian when she obfuscated responsibility for speaking up on the situation.
Yep.
I believe it's inherently different. She benefited directly from a business relationship with this brand. The brand does something that scandalizes and offends people for a valid reason for once.
Yeah.
The active sexualization of children
and the subliminal,
and covering it up and lying
and
about
the subliminal promotion of it that was far too intentional to be anything other than something on purpose to push along an agenda slowly.
Whether it's factual or not, public perception is such that now people link you with this scandal, whether you had any hand in it or not. We are fully aware Kim Kardashian had no creative input or involvement with the campaigns that were being pointed out during that scandal, obviously. But public perception, Kim Kardashian is an expert in it. She should know you're linked to this company that has now humiliated itself on the world stage by disguising child exploitation as art.
Do you think
you need to speak up on it and not just post a picture of your ass on Instagram and ignore the problem?
I don't know. Like I ask, do you think they've been humiliated? Not because I don't think it's true, but because normal people don't know this stuff is going on. Like I feel like the average person doesn't know that anything happened with Balenciaga. I saw a bunch of pictures over the weekend, especially in Europe. They didn't like
the normal person can't afford Balenciaga.
But it doesn't matter. Like,
does their target demographic even care?
That's what I'm saying. The rich people do not care, and the normies can't afford the brand. Some have not even heard.
Well,
about
except
it.
for Brittany Aldean, we saw her taking her Balenciaga out to the trash.
Performatively, I'm picturing her throwing away some Yeezys too, like some really ugly like Yeezy slippers that she's throwing away. But it's like what's that commercial, or like Lamborghini had like a phrase where they would say, "Why don't you ever see Lamborghini commercials?" Because people that can afford Lamborghinis don't watch TV.
That's awesome.
Like you don't have to. Like Balenciaga's advertised. Why doesn't Balenciaga care? Because the people that are buying their stuff are.
I mean, you know what else successful self-made people don't do? They don't write hit piece articles about celebrities for not having the correct opinions on their favorite pet issue.
It also annoys me because we most of the time go out of our way to try to have nuanced takes on all these issues. Like we'll cover stuff that actively feels like there isn't like necessarily a right or a wrong answer because the issues are so muddled and so confusing and there's two sides to every story. And on most of the cases, there's a very clear path forward with hyperbole that will get you a lot more favor with a lot more people, but I just can't bring myself to do that. Like, I mean, I have my things that I feel strongly about, but in general, it's like I have a hard time saying like, oh, look at this thing this person said, but then you read farther down, they say, but they also said this. And a lot of people will leave out they also said this down here part. People love to leave out context.
Yeah.
The Balenciaga one is one that doesn't really have context. That's just bad.
I mean, there is context, but the surface level is just as bad as when you dig deeper.
In the Jenna Ortega ones, like it's very clearly a manipulation of information to make a specific person look more than just a dumb 20-year-old with a large platform.
I think that Jenna Ortega, as a young rising star, is going to like learn more of the ropes about how the media will manipulate your public comments.
You're not safe.
Like, I, of course, remember the red carpet appearance she had where she is asked, you know, how does it feel to be one of the first female Latina leads in the horror genre or something like that. And of course she has to, she has the obligatory response of like, you know, it feels great to represent people like me because when I was younger, I didn't grow up seeing myself represented on screen and et cetera, et cetera. Like
Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez,
had to say
Selena.
Like there, endless examples.
I like
but
to do
it doesn't
that.
matter. Like the reality doesn't matter. You have to take the media approved stance on it in order to get your career boosted, and it's really slimy.
It really doesn't matter. Like it does not matter. Like
They ask these leading questions, and then you read the headline, and you're like, "Man, Jenna Ortega is like kind of woke and annoying, huh?"
Are there examples of someone who just completely shuts that down? Because I don't know if there's any young and up and coming actors that get questions like that.
There
like,
was
I'm not doing this.
There was an interview, and I think she's kind of gone back to the contrary, where they asked Gal Gadot, where she's like, "How do you feel about Wonder Woman being such an inspiration to young girls?" And she goes, "Well, it's not just about inspiring young girls. We need to inspire young boys too." Like she kind of middle grounded that, and or think Henry Cavill when they're like, "What do you think about toxic fans, huh, Henry?" And he's like, "Well, I don't think they're toxic. I think that they're passionate."
Or they're like, "So what do you think of Me Too?"
Like
what are you supposed to say
as
other
if
than
there's an answer.
Me Too
These
equals
actors-
good? Like
these entertainers and actors are giving too much. They're treating journalists with kid gloves, and I don't understand why.
Or it's vice versa.
That journalist has come to talk to you. You are the what's popular right now.
Right.
Don't even give them the time
Who
of
has
day.
leverage in that
Like
combo.
don't give them the middle ground vanilla answer. Just be like, you shut up. I'm not. Who was it that I think it might have been a fake interview, but wasn't it Jonah Hill that just straight up walked out of an interview because he didn't like the questions he was being asked?
I mean, there's more
I
than a
don't
couple of
know.
actors who have done that.
But he was just like. Anyway, I think people, because in your daily life, if someone asks you a stupid, annoying question, especially a leading question, you're not going to take it. You're going to walk away and be like, what are you doing?
I mean, more often these days, I feel like the journalist class is treating the celebrities with kid gloves.
Oh, yeah.
They're using their questions to flatter them as much as possible when even 10, 15 years ago, that was not the case.
They want
It feels
access.
like they're teamed up against us.
Yep.
Actually.
They want the media wants access, and they view themselves the same way the celebrities do as the tastemakers in the industry, full of plebs. We're the plebs who just whatever crap they feed us, you're supposed to smile, take it, and ask for more. It would be hilarious for like a celebrity to just be super base and be like, "Yeah, I don't give a crap if people look like me." Like I actually liked seeing people that didn't look like me. Like, I think about that too, because it's like, who's like I think of athletes that I loved, celebrities like movie stars, things that I liked, and it never really mattered. Ken Griffey Jr. is my favorite athlete of all time. I certainly did not look like Ken Griffey Jr. I mentioned Idris Elba being, I was like, The Wire is one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't look much like, I look a lot more like Dominic than the guy who plays the cop, than the guy, than Idris Elba. And I love Idris Elba. That was Michael B. Jordan's like breakout. That was his first big role. And those are the roles that I remember from those. And those are the ones that speak to me. Has nothing to do with skin color, has everything to do with the content of the show that they were in.
Right, and that's why I think we've gone backwards. And it's like,
Yep.
where now everything's hyper fixed. People are just so focused on the wrong things.
Yep. It's funny too, because it's just so like, you go back and you watch old shows and they were so much more naturally diverse, meaning that they looked like they were done in a way where it was important, but they didn't care that much.
Well, you're not forced to feel some type of way about it.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's really funny. It's watch episodes of Dexter or old episodes of Burn Notice. The casting is in line with the demographics of the place you're living in, right? Miami has a different demographic than New York, which is a different demographic than the Midwest. One of my biggest pet peeves is still the way that they trivialize people's locations. Like, you see people in the Midwest and they're always bumbling idiots who are like, they're not just racist, they're ignorantly racist, meaning like they don't understand Like they couldn't possibly understand what you superior people in the big city know.
Enlightened Hollywood or New York City people.
And it's
the
like
urbanites.
And to be fair, like that's what they're going to keep doing with these movies. That's like, and then when you don't like it, when you don't like the new Little Mermaid movie because it sucks, you're a bad person.
You're the problem.
You're the problem.
Can't wait to review that one, by the way.
Has that come out yet?
No.
It's not out yet. And then we also have the Snow White reboot with Rachel Zegler, who is, in Brett's mind, interchangeable with Jenna Ortega.
No, not anymore. Now, like
she's differentiated herself sufficiently.
Jenna Ortega is now the superior Rachel
Scream 6
Zegler.
is gonna be interesting. You know?
I have to admit, I don't care about Scream in New York.
No.
Though, to be fair, the last time a horror movie went to New York that I liked, did anybody see the Jason Takes Manhattan? The scene where he's on the roof with the guy and he's like, the guy's punching Jason like constantly for like Jason just stands there on a roof with this guy. And the guy punches him for 2 minutes until the guy his hands drop because he's so tired. And then Jason just hits him once and his head comes off and goes off the roof. Like that's what I think of. Like I love horror movies that stay with their environment. And I don't think Scream needs to go to New York City.
Well, we're also going to watch Megan tomorrow. Excited for that.
Though there was a really great like promotional image of like Ghostface on a train that actually was just a great visual. But at the same time, I'm like, and nobody's like, why is there a guy in a Ghostface costume on the train? I asked.
Everyone's acting like it's normal.
Yeah, it's New York City.
Of course, there's a guy with a ghost mask. Yeah.
On that note, let's go to Super Chats. Waffle Sensei said, Alex Jones can't play Bond because Alex Jones is Bond in real life. So true.
Go off, King.
Super Guy sent a little cat heart eyes emoji.
Thank you.
Salty Duckling said Luke Grimes for Bond.
I wonder if the
people
cat
have a lot of ideas for Bond.
Yes, we got a variety of people for Bond. We'll have to see.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, I like Brett's idea, Timothy Chalamet or Tom Holland as Bond.
No!
That was your idea.
No! Don't even put that out into the world.
Auntie C said Netflix might sell the rights to 1893. I think you mean 99.
No, but there's also
to Paramount or NBC. Both of these networks stream episodes of all 3 Yellowstone shows.
Yeah, that's been a big problem for 1899 is with how popular Yellowstone is. They released a show called 1893.
I actually like 1893 more than
and so people are getting it confused.
Yeah.
I had this like long 5 to 10 minute conversation with Charlie here, and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about Yellowstone. He's like, oh, I thought you were. I'm like, no, I know it's
similar,
1890s.
but it's not.
I'm talking about something
it's
completely different.
It's not Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad.
Well, it's also, I mean, they did the same thing. Now they have the new Yellowstone prequel, 1923, which just came out. Or I don't know if
is that what it is?
With Helen
There's
Mirren
too many, dude. How is there was one Yellowstone show and now there's 5 of them like that?
Well, that's because
so
Taylor Sheridan is a stud. And he's putting out my favorite show on TV right now, Tulsa King, which Mary hated.
That's your favorite show out right now? Seriously.
I'm being hyperbolic. But guys, go watch Tulsa King. It rules. And actually, if you don't want to go watch Tulsa King and you just want to see reviews, Michael Francis is reviewing. Do you know who Michael Francis is? There's a YouTuber that I watched that I didn't think of mentioning. Michael Francis is a former capo in the Italian mob who has a YouTube channel. And he reviews mob movies and he interviews people and he talks about life when he was growing up in the mafia. And so he's reviewing Tulsa King as he goes. And it's so funny because he has such a mob demeanor in the way he talks that it's like, he's like, yeah, I love Stallone. And like, it's the way he's doing it. Like you could never talk like that unless you were in the mob.
People would make fun of you.
Yes,
they would bully you.
They would. It's great.
R. Fontanez said, I like Brett's idea of an old man Bond movie sponsored by Gold Bond medicated powder and C-Bond denture adhesive.
They could do that and have like really great product placement in there. And then they could do the same thing when they do the Bourne movie, when they do Reborn. They can have it with like college applications.
Reborn is too corny.
Oh.
I think identity theft is the best idea. If he's elderly and gullible.
Somebody said the Bourne diversity earlier in the chat. We could have just like that one will definitely get race swapped.
Darn.
That one we'll get.
You win some, you lose some.
We could get Aldous Hodge as Jason Bourne.
Caper2X said, what do you think about the recruit on Netflix. Noah
Miscast.
Centineo.
Yeah, miscast. I didn't watch it. I watched about 10 minutes of it to see if like maybe it would be something I was interested in. I don't buy him.
He's kind of the ultimate panicky male lead in that.
Like I have a particular issue with the panicky male lead these days.
I haven't given it a chance yet.
It's
be honest.
but oh, somebody says Born Again. Duh. That's what we call it, Born Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, when all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. When you think of yourself as a victim, you'll interpret everything you dislike as an attack.
Yep.
True.
That's absolutely true.
Francisco.
Okay. Now I'm gonna try to remember this off the top of my head. Okay, so there. Yes, I'm glad. I can't believe I remembered this story off the top of my head. Yesterday, did you guys see the story in the news about the guy who he broke into a school to save like 20 people who were trapped in their cars over the snowstorm during Christmas?
No.
Okay, so a guy broke into a school, basically. Like, his car got stranded because of the snowstorm. I think this was in upstate New York. I could be wrong about where it was. Somebody will correct me in the chat. It's fine. And he sleeps through the night in this car, like with another person who's also stranded. And the next day, everyone's still stranded. So there's a school nearby. He breaks into the school, shepherds everyone in their cars into this school. They get food from the school and shelter, and they clean everything up when they're done, and he leaves a note apologizing for having to break into the school to basically to save these people's lives. And the first comment on the video says, "Good thing he was white." And I'm just like, that was like last night.
Oh
that was
my
like
gosh.
every night I wait for, like, literally my life is kind of like every night I wait for the moment where I say, that's enough internet for today. That was last night.
It was an early night.
I was like, that's it.
It was sort of like when I showed you that video saying that Drew Barrymore running in the rain was racist.
Yes.
You were just like,
Well,
you know what? I'm done for the day.
I was like,
It's
That
11
one,
a.m. and
though.
I'm done.
I'm done. Like, I can't, like, I was like, but
Frolicking. That's what
Frolicking,
it was. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. When, you just stole that from black creators on TikTok. Like, I don't.
like, I think a lot of it is done on purpose.
You lost me.
I think a lot of it is
That
done.
lady seemed totally genuine.
But I'm saying, but there's a part of them that's doing it because they know that people are going to
Rage
react
bait?
that way. Yeah. Like
So lame.
there's the one about the lady who's like, I got in trouble. I got kicked out of class for being a cat. And then said, like, I was meowing too much in class, and people were like responding. Like, it was very
Well,
clear.
that's a troll.
But no, it was
Yeah.
but it's a troll. But people don't respond. Like, people make response videos not realizing it's a troll. Like, the internet is a dangerous place to be. If the Andrew Tate stuff proves just how easy it is to spread misinformation.
Oh, and that girl is so good at it too. The Caraballo chick, dude, she's constantly like just posting just lies.
Yeah.
And it takes off. It
Well, I wasn't even
constantly trends.
I wasn't even just talking about that. I was talking about if you go into any of the comment sections on anything with Andrew Tate right now, half the comments are, he's been released. It was a swatting. Like, and they blatantly talk about it. I don't know if they know it's false or if it's done on purpose, but
Like, nobody has proof of that.
in the real world, right? Like, in the real world, things aren't that much different. On the internet, reality is extremely malleable.
Yeah.
Your reality is like, you have to go 5 to 10 comments down and do like hours of research to know that no, he has not been released.
Do you want to show that video I sent you earlier?
The TikTok
that was basically showing us the future of the internet. Like, there is, I believe everyone feels this, there's a new age of the internet coming very quickly.
one?
And I thought that this video, which was obviously edited by someone of Gen Z, is an example of that. So let's just
I don't know if the audio is going to be.
I'm just like, this was on a tweet that was like 1899 nation, we will win.
Like, literally none of it has any like.
But like, this is the future of the internet. Like, if you go on YouTube
this has been
Shorts,
a thing for a while. This has been a thing for a very long time. Serge can tell you about it. Like, it's just nonsensical stitched together videos.
ADHD the movie.
The sit posts, that term has been changed. This is what I originally knew as crap posting.
Yeah, it's like schizo posting for Gen
Yeah,
Z.
it makes zero sense, and it's just getting a little bit more popular. But this has been around.
But like, this is the content you spread when you're trying to get 1899 renewed. Is that gonna help?
I hate that stuff.
Who's it helping?
When I see memes that make no sense, they actually upset me. Like I get angry, and I'm like,
you care about the quality of the memes, damn it.
It's like it doesn't have to be a bad meme. It's like one that purposefully just is nonsensical. I'm like, why? Why do I have to look at this?
Save the memes.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple more, and then we will move on.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, when an industry shows you who they are, don't get mad when they cancel your favorite shows after 1 or 2 seasons. Find alternatives, maybe overseas, indie comics, so on and so forth. Brett will say old content is the answer.
Look, I watch nothing new.
Nostalgia is the answer.
I'm watching Necessary Roughness from 2011 with Callie Thorne. It is the definition of just cheesy bathtub television. It's about a woman who's a psychologist for a pro football team. And it's, I tell Mary all the time, like, I don't give a crap about dark and gritty because I like stuff that's optimistic about the human condition because it's the opposite of the world we live in right now. Everyone is pessimistic. Everyone takes the worst view on everything. And it's funny because I get called black-pilled maybe more than anyone here. So I like stuff that seems different from the world we live in today. And it's a show. In the show, she's divorced. The husband's kind of a dick. But you know what? It's not hateful of men. It's just this is a woman who went through a bad divorce with a guy who's kind of bad, but he's not cartoonishly evil. It was a different time. 2009 to 2011 in a lot of ways, I feel like was, we talked on the show the other day and in the chat, everyone got in on it. I think like 02 to 04 all the way up to like 2013 or 14 was like peak television. Like we had progressed to a point where we weren't just doing network television. Cable was doing well at that point. You had shows like The Wire. You had everything that was going on. So much good stuff out there. And there just wasn't the pessimism that we have
So
now.
I've got a show for you. Have you seen Night Sky on Amazon?
Mm-mm.
So it's with, I had his name. Popular actor, but it's about an old couple.
Okay.
They live out in rural Illinois. They have a nice little farmhouse. But in the farmhouse, in the basement, they've got this like chamber spaceship kind of thing. And it like teleports them. And then it's just like this little like nook that's like on a distant planet.
Okay.
And they're just sitting there and he's reading his book.
I love
having her tea.
I should
watching.
watch it.
And it's a sci-fi show, but it's very wholesome, dude, because it's more about, yes, it's a sci-fi show, but it's also about like this couple that's been together for 50 years and they're having some challenges in their life as old people.
I love it.
Night Sky.
Night Sky. I'll check it out.
And then the sci-fi thing is just like a background element that
It is. Well, it's the main element, but it's. I don't think that's the story they're telling.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the season 1 yet. I don't know if it's a limited series or if it's going to be more, but it's a new show.
Yep.
Either 2021 or 2022. So.
Brett, do you remember that like teen drama soap opera Roswell?
Yeah, of course.
That is again like
if you
bathtub television.
If you want to see the most 90s like puka shell necklace.
That was so good.
Puka shell necklace, spiked hair and all, like Buffy, Roswell, all. I mean, I think Roswell's been remade recently too. It's called Roswell, New Mexico.
Very creative title.
Very creative. It's like, how are we supposed to know the difference? Like, but like, I love the show Everwood. Everwood was a family drama starring Treat Wilson from 2004, and it covers all of the boilerplate. There's an episode on abortion. There's an episode on early teenage pregnancy.
There were always teen pregnancy episodes and everything.
There's an episode where like a teen girl her mom lets her get a boob job at 17, and like he's the liberal doctor from New York who's like a gifted surgeon. And like the other doctor in town is like the stodgy conservative, but they're buds in the show. Like he's like kind of portrayed as like the conservative guy just because he's like a stick in the mud. That's how in 2004 you would have been.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, don't listen to him.
And it's like I watch stuff like that, and I'm like, why do I need modern television with actors that are garbage, like who are garbage people or promoting garbage views? Why do I need stuff from people that actively hate me when I can buy it once on DVD at a secondhand store if need be? If you wanted to, I still subscribe to the streaming services. I'm part of the problem. I admit it. But most of these shows, I don't care. It's like my dream, like side podcast would be just talking about stuff like this, but it would be so hard to categorize because there's so many of them. And usually like I have a lot of podcasts that I listen to that are they just review one show. But it's very hard for like, if you're two people and you do that, how do you pivot into another show? Because you're going to get a completely different audience to do that. You can't have the same Like the people who love the X-Files aren't going to join you to review something else, right?
Right.
Like I would love to do a whole podcast reviewing the show Whitechapel, which I don't believe anyone watched but me, but it would be fun.
Those people are out there. Let's save the rest of the super chats. We've got to move on.
All right, we're moving on, guys. So Hollywood is full of creeps. Did you know that?
I'm
No.
shocked and appalled.
Shocked, we tell you. So, Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 Romeo and Juliet, starring Leonard Whiting and Olivia. Is it Hussey? Would it be Hussey or Hussey? It looks like Hussey.
Hussey.
I don't know.
It starred these two actors. He was 16, she was 15. He was a boy, and she was a girl. No.
Can I make it any
Okay,
more
so they were.
obvious?
He was 16. She was 15 in Romeo and Juliet, and they are suing Paramount Global because they were naked while making this movie for a scene, and they're suing them for exploitation, fraud, and then distributing images of a minor in the nude.
What confuses me most about this story actually is the fact that this was in 1960s America,
Yes.
what is so often portrayed as a very stodgy, sexually repressed era of our culture.
No.
At least
Summer
it was
of Love, like the actual
sure,
Summer
but
of
that's
Love.
the reason that happened was to push back on the dominant culture,
Yes,
which
it would have been-
did
that would have been
prevail
subculture
throughout
at
the
the time.
60s and the 70s and forward. This was definitely not in the era of like anything goes that we're in now. So I'm just surprised that they would even portray this in a film
Yeah.
with young people or anybody, when at the time there were decency laws, or even not too long before this was made, decency laws legislating that even married couples cannot be portrayed sleeping in the same bed as one another. So that's what shocked me.
The actors are now in their 70s, and they say they have suffered mental anguish and emotional distress in the 5 decades since the film's release and have lost out on job opportunities. According to the lawsuit, Paramount owed a duty to protect their minor children employees from child and sexual exploitation. They're right.
This definitely wouldn't fly today.
No, it would not. They're seeking damages to believed to be in the excess of $500 million. I will say that one of the pushbacks on this is that the Olivia, the woman, said in an interview in 2018 that people were making a big deal about nothing and that it was tastefully done.
People's
it doesn't make
opinions
it
on
right.
things change
Yeah.
over time.
So-
we have no idea.
I
It
think
shouldn't-
something has changed here, and that's
There
that
shouldn't
we're
have been
in
a nude scene
No,
with
there
legal
should not.
children. But at the same time, why are you waiting till now to sue? And how do you get out? How do you get that number?
Yeah.
Like you guys were paid as actors. So where does that $500 million
So
in
here's-
damages? How do you even come up with that number?
It's their lawyer's job
Yeah.
to like come up
Yeah.
with how much money they lost in their careers because
But like,
of
and
this.
even 4 years ago, she's like, it was good. I liked it. It wasn't a big deal. Which
The
yes,
culture of victimhood has changed, but that doesn't make the act right.
I mean, I
right.
just
It
don't
should have
know.
never been done in the first place.
Exactly.
What is the audience supposed to think of this when
Yeah.
the law is literally that for every frame of I don't want to say it out loud because of YouTube reasons, but like CP videos can give you like a decade in prison.
So
that this is just on a
And
mainstream
it's also
platform.
fascinating with the parallels we're seeing in states like California who are like defending predators
Yep.
now. And
So-
it's just go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's weird. It's like, yes, you're right. There's this time where everyone's a victim, but at the same time, somehow predators are victims as well.
So
You know,
Romeo and Juliet director Franco Zeffirelli assured them there would be no nudity in the movie and that they would instead wear flesh-colored undergarments to shoot an intimate scene between the star-crossed lovers. It's funny because there was just a thing the other day about Emilia Clarke talking about how she was on set in Game of Thrones with Jason Momoa. And how like there was like she was like he would have to like tell them to get me a blanket because I was shivering, or he's like get her a coat. Like he was apparently very, very professional, whatever. I think it was Emilia Clarke. Like it was his, like he'd already done a lot of acting before, so he was able to like push back and make sure that she was treated with dignity and respect. The winner was the intimacy coordinator. I ask you, back in the 60s. So, however, in the final days of filming, the director allegedly encouraged them to film the bedroom scene nude with body makeup, or the movie would fail. Now, if you're an adult If you're a middle-aged adult who is an established director and you're telling this to two 15 and 16-year-old children, they probably felt pressured to do so.
Right. And I think that this is an ongoing problem in Hollywood to this day. They just got better at hiding it, possibly.
Yep.
It's especially a red flag that this was in the last days of filming. Like, you're down to the wire. You want to be done with this already. And now he's saying that it could be career ruining to not do this scene, when in reality, they're saying it was the opposite effect.
Yep. It says he misrepresented where the camera would be and filmed them naked without their knowledge. The finished film included images of her breasts, his buttocks. This is the other part. This is peak Hollywood, guys. So I was looking this up. She was not allowed to attend the premiere of this movie because it had nudity in it. It was nudity of her.
That's pretty
insane.
bad. That's
So
pretty absurd.
Has this movie been pulled since then? Or is this still out
I don't
there?
think it's
I did not see it on Paramount. I looked. I didn't see it. I might have missed it, but I didn't see it on.
I mean, obviously,
because that's kind of ridiculous that there's
copies
still
are out there.
CP floating around from a major Hollywood
Right.
picture. That's kind of crazy to me.
So
right, but like these abuses in Hollywood have existed since the dawn of Hollywood. It's always worse than it appears.
So it says that she defended the nude scene in past interviews. In 2018, she told Fox News that it was done very tastefully and wasn't that big of a deal.
Here's the thing, though. I don't care if these two have possibly selfish, money-grubbing reasons for starting this lawsuit. I really don't. Whether they objectively believe that this was wrong or not, it was wrong.
Yeah, it was wrong to do. It should have never been done. But like, do I believe that they were like emotionally distressed over it?
Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, or maybe their feelings changed over time because they realized the context. But
also,
and that happens all the time. But like, if their self-interest is making money off of this lawsuit, or making up for losses in their career, I really don't think of that as so wrong. Like, why would they come out only now? People's feelings change about things
because they're
over
old.
time.
Because they're old and they want to leave money for their kids.
Like, what's wrong with that?
Look, I believe that most people would agree, would say that, look, if they actually they don't like the idea of them doing it because of the money. They're saying like if they actually felt mental anguish, they would have felt it before. Doesn't it throw water on the claim of mental anguish that she literally said as recently as 2018 that it wasn't a big deal? Mm-hmm. Is it? We know it's a big deal. No one here is saying that it's not a big deal. We're saying, does it not disprove her claim a little bit?
Is there statute what's the lawsuit? I feel like is there a statute of limitations on it?
So it says the attorney for the two told Variety nude images of minors are unlawful and shouldn't be exhibited. They were very young, naive children in the 60s and had no understanding of what was about to hit them. All of a sudden, they were famous at a level that was never expected. And in addition, they were violated in a way that they didn't know how to deal with. That doesn't seem very accurate to what they're saying about how it damaged their careers. But they talk about how up here where they talk about the lawsuit was filed under a California law that temporarily suspended the statute of limitations for claims against child abuse.
Okay.
Against child sexual abuse.
They have evidence sitting with them that they were denied jobs. Like you can't.
They would have
put
to
this
prove
case
that.
forward.
That's hard to prove. Like someone had to outright say, "We're not hiring you because you were naked."
The other idea here is like they just make the claim and they're hoping that Paramount will settle out of court for
this is an interesting commentary on like the way that Hollywood has slowly actually prioritized nudity and sexuality in mainstream film and television, to the point where if you're not willing to do these things or certain scenes on camera, you're going to get blacklisted just the same.
Yep.
Like, they started this decades and decades ago, but we only see the effects starting in like the 2010s because we're just catching up to the incremental change that's happened. It's very underhanded.
It's still going on, and like it's like the series The Boys. I love it, but dude, I want to watch that for the action, the superheroes, not all the sex scenes.
Right.
I don't care about.
It's getting ridiculous.
Every time I see it, it's too many times. Like, one time is too many, in my opinion. That is something. That is one thing that will stop me from continuing a show. I just don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people want to watch these shows with their friends or their
Game of
family
Thrones,
members
too.
without feeling awkward about it.
Well, it's not just that.
Not
Game,
that
it's like
difficult.
it's this Game of Thrones. It's like you can allude to the fact that these two characters are romantic.
Yeah.
And are involved with each other without having a 5 to 10 minute scene about it.
You cut to right after they're done.
Right.
And then they do the awkward flop onto either side of the bed.
Yeah, you got them. You get the kiss. You get the shot of them kissing, and then you pan out to the window, and then scene transition.
Yeah.
And you're good. It's like 30 seconds. You know those that's a couple now. It's filler. It's time
There's
filler.
there's nothing being conveyed by excessive sexuality.
It just doesn't interest me. Like, I just feel like there's so much more interesting. Like, you can, like, if anything, if the actors and the writers are doing their jobs, that emotional connection is displayed in other ways.
Yeah.
And that frees up space for other scenes that would be more applicable to everyone.
Now, if it's a romance movie, I'm more lenient on like kind of my stance on it because the whole movie is romance. But if it's just a show like Game of Thrones, The Boys,
somebody should have like gone to like all of the 50 Shades of Grey movies and said there was too much sex.
right, that's a good example.
But
yeah.
ironically, from what I heard, 50 Shades was relatively tame
For what the
because
book
they
was.
knew that the target audience was like older women and they didn't care to see excessive nudity. What they wanted was kind of a recreation of like erotica novels, which even the novels are more graphic than what they showed in the movie.
Well, and isn't it kind of proven that men are visual, women are literary, in the sense that women love men love visual porn, women love literary porn.
But then again, when you're going to a mainstream film or TV show, that is not the primary thing you're looking for. The primary thing that you want out of that is a story. Yep. And it detracts, or at the very least doesn't contribute anything to the story to include that. And again, like this is taking away from the tradition that watching TV used to be a communal and family activity, and now it is something that you have to do on your own, otherwise you feel super awkward about it.
Yeah.
Like no one is going to watch a highly sexual show with their family. It's really awkward.
Let's go back to just the main topic. So you have no problem with them suing, even if you don't believe that they actually. I don't buy that their emotions changed suddenly 5 years later.
What does it matter what their emotions are?
I think they need money.
What matters is what happened.
Well, that's what I was wondering about the statute of limitations because, right, we all agree it was wrong, but
a
at
crime
the
was
time
committed,
in 1968, right, it was a Shakespeare movie, like maybe it was more generally accepted. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I really couldn't tell you. I don't know if Hollywood was a lot less promiscuous back in the 60s, so maybe but if it were, maybe they have something to stand on, you know?
Well,
so
how I felt
tough.
about
It was
the
so
Demi
long
Moore
ago.
thing that we were just talking about was like, I'm sorry, who cares what the 15-year-old in that video, who is now what age? Like in his 50s?
50s now.
Who cares what he thinks about it then, in between, or present day? We're talking about the actual content of what was in the video. And is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Well, in this context, because we're not talking about them being prosecuted by the state, we're talking about them being sued by a person. So it's not the same thing as it's not the same thing as them being prosecuted or fined by the government for a crime committed in general. It's by people for a specific cause and the amount that they get to comes from an idea like emotional distress, and then people will push back on the claim, like, how emotionally in distress were you in 2018 when you said it was fine? I don't have an opinion one way or other on that. I believe that it was wrong to do it, and they should be flicked on the nose and told, like, look, you can't do this stuff anymore. And I think we understand that now. Like,
we need precedent. We need like actual legislation on this, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't know what
because they'll keep pushing the boundaries.
I don't think they will push
with the excuse that intimacy coordinators prevent this type of thing, when in reality, these people are glorified HR reps. We know even from House of the Dragon that they wrote sexual scenes for a 17-year-old to film days after she turned 18. That is wild to me that this is legally allowed. We need legislation on this.
No, see, I disagree that we need legislation. I don't always think the law is the answer. But as a society, we need to be like, yo, this is effed up. right?
Yeah, Hollywood exists
You can't
outside of
plan
societal
a
norms.
nude scene for a teenager who's not even 18 yet.
It doesn't matter.
You're a weirdo and you're a creep, and we as a society need to say,
and she
stop
said
that.
this in an interview like it was okay because she hasn't been told anything other than that. Her parents clearly aren't looking out for her or any other children in this industry.
This is the side effects of this like sexual revolution that's going on right now, and it's like this stuff is going to happen.
Between this and that Paramount lawsuit involving Top Gun Maverick, they're going to be out some money this year, guys.
Oh, they're going to settle. I think they settle this because this is such a crazy thing. Like, you still have a movie out there floating around that people can go and watch that has CP in it. Like, they're going to
big liability.
Either they pull it or I don't know what.
I didn't see the movie on Paramount Plus, so I didn't. I looked like to see if it was on there. I didn't see it on Paramount Plus.
It's sort of like how Disney Plus is trying to do like a mass exodus of any content from old Disney that can be considered offensive, like the movie that Splash Mountain was based on, Song of the South, that is considered racist by some, benign by others. They're trying to escape any controversy whatsoever.
So the comments are really funny. It says some lawyer must have been streaming the movie late at night and saw an opportunity. Somebody says, so where are the parents? Are they suing them? Probably not, to mention they agreed to do it at all. Like the parents, like where were the parents?
Are the parents even alive?
Why did no, I guarantee the parents are not alive. Like why did the mom and dad allow this to happen? Right? Like
because thank you.
Woo!
Yes. It's a very obvious thing. The parents of child actors do not protect them. We've seen this time and time again.
Very rarely.
We were just talking about Bella Thorne. Like it's very rare that the parents of child stars do anything to protect them from nefarious actors in this industry. That's why I'm saying possibly legislation could be the solution. That's the only reason I'm saying that.
Down at the government.
Well,
sorry, I have to.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a meme that libertarians are pro PDF
these
a reason.
Actors shouldn't have to file a lawsuit. Like, our state prosecutors should have done this a while ago. As soon as someone heard, like, oh shoot, there's a major movie with those scenes in it. No, we got to take action on this.
Yeah, maybe the parents are the ones who should also be prosecuted for allowing
Child
their kid to do this.
Yeah.
Well, they're dead.
Well, I'm saying if they were still alive, we would prosecute the
Well, that's
children.
the problem with starting a lawsuit in 2023 when the crime happened in 68. You're going to have all this confusion.
So someone said statist Mary. Let's go. Let's read some super chats.
Let's do this.
I need to stop watching YouTube said unicorns are real, and then he said unicom real. Okay. You want to defend your position? Bobcat said, I know there's at least one Instagram electrician. She keeps showing up in my feed. Have you seen this, Brett?
I'm going to have to look. I'm going to have to send it to my brother.
Brett is like, hey, can you send me the ad just for research purposes?
Purely for research purposes, could you give me like a link?
Yeah.
And maybe give me some suggestions on best reels.
BMF Nate Dogg said, Cavill is not blackballed. As a better example of someone who is blackballed, see Kanye West. Yeah.
I mean, is there anyone that's really blackballed? Like Kevin Spacey's still working in Europe. So like anyone can work.
Well, that's the argument for cancel culture isn't real.
The guy from here's an example. The guy who played one of the cops in the show The Shield is in jail. There you go. You're blackballed if you're in jail and not literally allowed to
Then people will just advocate for you to get pardoned.
He killed his wife. So
Damn.
he's like, yep.
Caper2X said, but was that Jenna or her PR team being woke? I mean, I suppose it's impossible to know whether she tweeted this herself or not, but
we'll never know.
Is Gen Z, so I doubt she has other people running all of her socials.
Yeah,
she wants to be
attention.
active on socials. Puddin' said, I'm behind. Check out Disparu and Johnny Law on YouTube.
Okay, Johnny Law.
Disparu's
I've
popular.
heard of Disparu, yeah. Corey Anderson said, I don't mind this backlash towards Jenna. This is what she gets for spawning that stupid Wednesday dance.
I haven't seen
people
the
love
dance.
the Wednesday dance, though. Like, this is a viral
It is.
moment.
The other thing is she does a great like explanation as to where Like how she built, she literally like designed.
She did the research.
She did the research and designed the dance. I don't know if she did it herself, but she said she watched like hours upon hours of videos of like the punk scene in the 80s and everyone dancing. And here's the thing, assuming that she's not high out of her mind, she had to do it sober, which is way harder than I'm sure.
She did it COVID positive though.
That is
which
true.
is
She might
a
have
drug
been,
in and of itself.
It's like purposefully dancing bad. I'm watching it right now.
Yes, but it's her face
then
while she's doing it. So
that's
she's
just
very
your opinion.
She's deadpan as she's doing it, which is what makes it awesome.
Yeah.
Like then she makes that face.
Sensei. Waffle Sensei said, shout out to the people who threw away all their Balenciaga and bought Gucci instead. It's owned by the same company. In fact, the same company, Kering, owns Gucci, Saint Laurent, and Bottega Veneta. I think there were other ones too, but yeah, it's one big club and we're not in it.
We are definitely not in it.
Johnny Derps. I think it's a relief actually that all of these clothes are ugly anyways. Johnny Derp said, with respect, Mary, describing someone as woke and annoying is redundant. Whatever it may have meant, now it means annoying. That is all.
Is there anyone that you can think of that's woke, that is woke in a way that doesn't bother you?
In a benign,
Not off the top of my
inoffensive
head.
way. Just, anyone who doesn't talk about it excessively. Like,
Yeah.
it's not your personality, but you might have those opinions. I'm willing to be friends with anybody.
Yeah.
Abortion is the most important topic to me politically. And I would happily be friends with a pro-choice person who is willing to, again, like be civil to me.
Yeah.
But it's not a two-way street these days.
No, it is not. It's the hardest part about it too, because it's like all my friends, like it kind of hit me the day, like my friends would talk politics all the time. They cared. I didn't care to argue with them. I saw the world differently than them. That was fine. And I remember one day I made one minor correction where like we were like skating a spot and they were talking about democracy. And I mentioned like, well, actually we live in a constitutional republic. It's a different thing. And they like laughed as if what I said was stupid. And I'm like, it's true. Like you're just being annoying right now. Like you're either so brainwashed that you don't understand that there's a fundamental difference. Like words matter, right? Like, because in the context of what you're describing, like your popular vote description doesn't actually matter because we don't live in a place where at the federal level where that matters for the presidential election. It just doesn't. And it was just funny because like they laugh and I'm like, this is why you're so unhappy. Like, because I make one comment, like you guys have been like agreeing with each other for ages. That's fine. Like you guys see the world the same as each other. I see the world the same as a lot of people here. Not everyone. I think I disagree with a fair amount of the people here. I feel like I
disagree with you about 95% of things.
Me and Mary agree on something like once every third Thursday of every odd month. We agree on something.
Blue moon.
If Mary's in like a charitable mood, we will agree on things once in a while. But it's not a prerequisite because there's respect there, and that matters.
Right.
Yeah. Elijah Borges said, Mary, are you familiar with Good Fight Ministries? They are incredibly gifted Christian theologians who also focus on pop culture, with in-depth scriptural insights. Also do seek the work of Mark Dice. Familiar with Mark Dice, not familiar with Good Fight Ministries.
You should look that up.
But I'll look into it. Thank you.
Maybe we could do that with, we could see if we could have him on.
Mm-hmm. Corn Pop commented, still not banned. Were you expecting to get banned?
He's my favorite because his
is he in the IRL chat?
Yes, and they never make sense. He just uses these eye emojis and it's just like half statements, like half thoughts.
Maybe it's Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, it's a good impression.
Caper2X said, Brett, give the recruit a chance. The real world situation and the CIA inner office politics are mesmerizing. Its cliffhanger deserves a second season.
Okay. I will perhaps on Friday I will tune in and I will start it on Friday night after we record our episode. Friday night is my favorite night to watch anything because I know that I don't have to be up early the next day.
Yeah.
I cherish Friday night television.
Have you ever get into that binge where you're like watching a show and then the sun starts coming up and you hate yourself a little bit?
It's why it's why I like watching old stuff too, because I don't. Then I fall asleep at a reasonable time because that way I don't when we were watching I don't remember what we were watching recently, but we reviewed something and I was like halfway. Like I got a couple episodes in, and by the time I got into episode 7 or 8, I was like, oh crap! Like now it's morning and I have to be up in like 3 hours. It sucks.
Clayton Amboy said, I just watched the new Batman with Robert Pattinson. I loved it for the most part. The ambiance was perfect for Gotham. I did feel like the Riddler was a letdown, though. What do you guys think?
I felt like the Riddler was definitely a letdown, especially the end where they make him into basically not Reddit.
People called him like an autistic incel, and I was
he's
whoa.
like he's definitely like my favorite part is like he's supposed to be like this 4chan God, like he's supposed to be some 4chan like god, and his follower count is like 500.
Yeah, I saw memes about that.
I was like, that's all it takes to start a revolution. Like by that mark, we could have like today, Pop Culture Crisis could have started a Gotham revolution with our live chat.
Is this you're talking about the Robert Pattinson
Yes.
Batman? So I really liked the character, except I think they glossed over him. They made him super creepy and yet glossed over the fact that he was creepy. And then he basically solved all the crimes for Batman in the movie. He's like, "Oh, you didn't get my clue fast enough. Well, here's what it was."
Yeah.
On to the next clue.
It just didn't do it for me. I was already kind of meh. It was too long. Like I'm already predisposed to be annoyed with anything that approaches 3 hours in length. And then when we got the white privilege line, not because of the language of the word.
It was so out of place. That's the other problem. It wasn't even the line itself. It was just like, "Oh, let's meet up on this rooftop so I can complain to you."
Well, it's the fact that it was like 2022 language in a show that was linguistically timeless otherwise.
Right.
If she had used other words and talked about, the world you were born into, being from a family of wealth, that rings differently than saying something that sounds like a 16-year-old girl on Twitter. Just does.
Johnny Derp said Roswell is more bathtub and toaster than bathtub TV. I liked it. I think it's charming.
Bathtub TV would definitely be considered a different show. Like Bathtub TV is like This Is Us is considered this. It's very very. I like lighthearted, but it's at the same time I don't like comedy. That's why it's weird. I don't like straight comedy, but I don't like overtly super dramatic stuff.
Shimmy Shelley said, for lighthearted, Glow was surprisingly fun series.
A lot of people liked
Glow. Have you
Glow.
seen that?
I have not watched Glow. A lot of people liked Glow. There's also a show that I understand that people enjoy starring Stephen Amell called Heels, which is a show about professional wrestling. I believe it's on Starz. Stephen Amell was the actor who played Oliver Queen in the CW Green Arrow show. He's a lifelong wrestling fan. He got to appear at WrestleMania. He did a thing with like Stardust, and eventually went on to work in I think he went to work on in AEW and do stuff like that. But he loves wrestling, so he's a wholesome dude to follow on Instagram. He's just like he posts for like he's got a charity that has to deal with like cancer, because I think he had a family member that had cancer, so they have a cancer charity. He owns a wine company because all celebrities own wine companies,
right?
And he's
tequila.
Yeah, Stephen Amell's a great follow.
Not Alan Rogers said, I take it you haven't read The Boys, Kellen?
No,
Did you?
I haven't. I think pretty sure it's just a graphic novel or comic book, whatever you want to call it, but no, I have not. I've only seen the show, but I've been meaning to. What I really want to watch or go and read is the Umbrella Academy comics.
Those look really interesting, and
I want to see
Gerard
how they
Way
compare.
is the one
Yeah,
that wrote them.
yeah. So I trust him with his literature.
Yeah.
Shannon in the chat says Bathtub TV was the first Tomb Raider movie. Yes, it was. It could be the middle of the worst day of my entire life, and if somebody put on the first Tomb Raider movie, I would sit down and watch it and feel instantly better as soon as it was done.
Noted for the worst day of your life.
Thank you.
Not Alan Rogers. Johnny Derp said Americans are obsessed with the magic age of 18, as if that is the mystical point where your training wheels come off. It's a process and varies from person to person, dare I say, on a spectrum.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, but isn't the idea here that the people that ignore it, that are the adults, the idea is that they're ignoring what the social convention tells them is the law? Like, it's about boundaries. It's about, that this is wrong. Whether you agree with it being wrong or not, the law tells you it's wrong.
The point is, all laws are estimations.
Yes. So the idea here is that if that person is that blatantly in disregard of somebody at 18 for 16, if they're ignoring convention there, will they ignore it at a younger age?
I think what he's like, I'm someone who believes that the age of adult should be pushed up to 21. If they can't trust you to drink alcohol, why are they going to trust you with all this other stuff? I think kids should be delayed when going to school. I think 5 and 6 years old is really young, or just have them in school for longer. Like we force in America, I think this is the point he's making, we force kids to grow up faster than they should. A
lot of people would say it's the other way around.
You think
there are a lot of mixed opinions about this at the moment.
I think we've infantilized our youth in that we don't we're
but
in
if
a
anything,
perpetual state of childhood.
If anything, then an extended adolescence, while that is a problem that needs to be remedied in and of itself, then that's all the more reason we need laws that estimate a time when they become personally responsible. Yeah, it's not magic. But all laws are an estimation that enforce a certain moral standard. All laws are speaking on morality. That's just a fact.
It's also interesting that America's a kind of unique in the idea that we kick you out of the house at 18.
Some people.
We're like get the hell out. You're done.
That's not a thing in Europe.
No,
that's
it's not. It's very different
normal.
in Europe.
Right.
That was very interesting to me. When
and it's impossible now because the culture, it's still that's still kind of expected, but it's
also hella expensive
exactly.
just to live these days.
You could work 40 hours a week and still not be able to afford an apartment of your own.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Bobcat said, as far as the debauchery of Hollywood around the middle of the last century, read the novel L.A. Confidential.
Yep. And the movie.
It's always been. Corn Pop said, he sent us a little emoji.
I saw that.
Next time. And then he sent us a poop emoji. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Johnny Derp said, you're just loving Corn Pop right now. Johnny Derp said, guessing the Blessed Virgin Mary wasn't 18, so was God wrong, Mary? Gotta be consistent, that is all. Well, we kind of just covered that point. Obviously, I don't even think that this comes from a very intellectually honest position because, as we just covered, adolescence is a longer state in life than it used to be for a lot of human history.
Let's save the rest. We got some more, but let's save the rest. We got a couple more little things to cover that we're gonna breeze by fairly quickly here, guys. So Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Nobody cares.
Oh yeah, we can breeze over this.
Nobody seems to care because Harrison Ford is literally 80 years old and Phoebe Waller-Bridge is annoying. So everyone's Transformers: The Rise of the Beast has got more trailer views. Everything's getting more trailer views. Everyone understands that James Mangold is being very annoying on Twitter and antagonizing fans while then gaslighting them and then pretending I wasn't being mean to fans. What are you talking about?
A lot of the comments on this trailer for Dial of Destiny were basically bullying him for being too old.
He is too old. They shouldn't have made this movie.
It'd be cool. Who was the actor that played Short Round?
I don't know.
He could come back as Indiana Jones, and I think I'd be interested.
They should have brought back Shia LaBeouf.
I am happy that competition is back for 2023.
Oh yeah, there's so many movies coming out. So look, it also proves we were gonna cover this article that basically said if you want entertainment now, you get 6 studios to choose from, and that's it. And right now, so you got this, you got your Transformers. I'm more interested in Transformers because it's a reboot. They're not doing the Michael Bay movies. Hey, I love those first 3 Michael Bay Transformers movies. I do. I love them. But they're rebooting it. We'll have to see how it goes. Do any of these movies, of these ones, do any of them interest you, Mary?
I watched all of the trailers. Equally mind-numbing.
Yeah.
So tired of the constant recycling of franchises that used to be loved and used to be higher quality, genuinely. There's just no effort being put forth by Hollywood anymore. I'm glad that almost every weekend of 2023 is going to be a new release in theaters because finally people won't be these studios won't be relying on the leg up it gives them to be the only thing out for a 3-week period, which is what allowed Black Adam to even make the money it made.
Yep, the very little amount of money it made.
Right.
So we'll see. So it's just interesting. Only 10 million views on the Lucasfilm YouTube channel. Disney,
it wasn't a good reception.
Disney has done a fantastic job of taking important cultural touchstones in American pop culture and just ruining them. Nobody cares about new Indiana Jones. Nobody cares about new Star Wars in the way that they used to. They don't have the same cultural significance, especially with the fact that most of what we're seeing from Star Wars now is television and not movies.
It's like new Star Wars has an entirely different fandom than original Star Wars had. So, like, there are some people who like Andor, but they're generally fans of just Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, they care about Disney Star Wars. Also, like, they're not making movies. They were going to make a Rogue Squadron movie. That has been supposedly put on hold.
Ahsoka is on the way.
People actually like Ahsoka, so that will probably do well. We'll see how that goes. So I just thought it was interesting that there's just, like, there is no... Because people asked us if we were going to cover anything to do with Dial of Destiny. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't. Like, I don't care about 80-year-old... Like, I'm literally picturing him, like, having to stop for bathroom breaks in the middle of, like, filming an action scene because he's 80, or like his, like, he's like, they show him fighting and he's got, like, an adult diaper on or something like that. Like, it's just, he's old. The guy should just retire.
Hate to the guy.
He should just retire. Like, he doesn't need to still be acting. Like, I understand, like, maybe you think you're going to make something great. I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy that they do. So it just is what it is. All right. And then just a couple of quick things before we go. So Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I liked this story.
Do you want to tell people about this?
Sure. So he brought up this old story from the 90s where Dionne Warwick out-gangstered him and other rappers that she called to her driveway at like 7 a.m. in the morning.
That's a power play, making them come at 7 a.m.
Yeah, like in true like mom fashion. Called them all to her driveway early in the morning so that she could lecture them about their misogynistic rap lyrics. So he recalled this story and he said, "We were kind of like scared and shook up. We're powerful right now, but she's been powerful forever. 30 some years in the game in a big home with a lot of money and success."
She looks like a woman that wouldn't take crap from anyone.
No. And she asked these rappers to look her in the eyes and call her the B word because that is what they call women in their rap lyrics.
Based.
And they said, yeah, they all showed up early, in fact, by 6:52 a.m.
Be on
and
time.
He claims that it worked and that they got out gangstered that day.
I think this ties into the conversation we were having earlier about influencers and using their platform. This is like the best, and I get it. It's in the 90s, so it's a little bit different. But she wanted change in the world, and she took it upon herself. She didn't demand it from anyone else. She didn't tell all of her followers that you need to behave this way. She went up to Snoop Dogg and be like, you guys shouldn't be doing this.
A problem in her own industry as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Where she had influence.
So I have mad respect for her, and this story made me smile. I thought it was cute.
But obviously it didn't change the rap lyrics at all. It didn't change
for
this
Snoop
genre.
Dogg, yeah, but there's a very big difference about the current rappers and like Snoop Dogg and what he's become. And it's also, he's arguably the most successful rapper of all time. You know, you could say Eminem.
You think
could
so?
say
I mean, he's
NWA.
more he's successful as a crossover.
But that's what I'm saying.
Beyond
He's had
just
such
music.
a successful career, and one might argue, well, he stepped away from, that culture that you're talking about. There's a bug crawling on the desk, and it's really distracting me.
Yeah, it happens.
How do you guys still have bugs up here? It's like winter. It's January.
Yep.
I think it's just because we're high up in the building.
That's so...
I like it. I like the story. It did not change the culture.
I thought you disliked the story because you think that a lot of these extreme lyrics are necessary in rap to appeal to the audience.
I love rap music. I talked to somebody recently who was talking about how like they need to change, like he thinks that the culture is, that they need to change the culture. I said that may be true, but it's still their culture to change. And I loved it. I loved it growing up because I was a white kid.
Because it didn't resonate.
Because it didn't resonate with me. I was a white kid. Yeah. I was a white kid who was like lower middle class in the suburbs of Minnesota. So listening to Tupac meant something different to me. Listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, listening to Spice One, Raekwon, like all these artists, right? Like they were cool for a reason that you didn't really understand. Other than that, it was entertainment to you, but it was their real life.
Speaking of old school rap, what is your opinion on
God.
Biggie Smalls being integrated into the Metaverse?
Meh.
Oh my God. It is so dystopian. And you say you don't think it's that dystopian. It's dystopian to me because they advertised it as a concert, as a street concert initially. I'm not going to play he's playing Hypnotized, but I'm just going to play a couple seconds of the video. I don't want to get copyrighted, but it's so weird, guys. It's like, remember when holograms were first coming out?
I was going to say, this is better than holograms though.
They're both weird.
Do you guys think that this looks realistic? I thought a lot of people
it's not bad.
were saying it doesn't look like him. It's giving CeeLo Green.
It does have a little bit of CeeLo Green vibes. Like, you should be singing
also,
crazy.
like, the wording that that he now has a metaverse avatar kind of implies that he is conscious in the digital world somehow, instead of just saying what they did, which is they animated a CGI version of him performing.
Right.
Yeah, the world is going down the drain.
One person said, the constant zombification of deceased artists is incredibly weird, can't lie. And another one said, why can't y'all let people be dead and live in the wax museum in peace? I think there's something to be said for that.
Dude.
I don't know if this is the best idea.
Don't say you're not supposed to say Biggie Smalls 3 times in the mirror with the lights off, or he'll appear.
He'll appear in the metaverse.
He'll appear
avatar.
behind you.
Yikes!
No, that was a South
Do you guys
Park
think this
joke.
is like Uncanny Valley?
Yes, it's the movements around the face and the arms, but it's the same like in Avatar. As realistic as Avatar was, arms still don't really move the way arms move.
You know, I'm convinced that if She-Hulk had better CGI, it wouldn't have gotten as much backlash. It's like
people are saying they gave him a weird body and skinny legs, and he's dressed weird.
They're like, he's literally the notorious B.I.G.
He's medium Smalls in there.
Like,
someone said Biggie Smalls with gastric bypass. Oh no!
See, they should have.
This is just opening up a dead person to scrutiny.
Look, and it's funny because that's like Tupac and Biggie. The album Life After, the 2-disc album Life After Death was like very influential to me. All of those, I loved Mace in the 90s. Like, there was so much music from that time period that just ruled. I don't want it to change. Like, maybe that's selfish of me, but I don't want it to change. I want it to stay and be what it was. So it's just me. All right, like I would be interested to know what everyone thinks. I bet you there's a lot of, just like AI art is an extremely divisive topic right now, I bet you Metaverse, Uncanny Valley avatar rap artist is a very divisive topic.
Yeah. We've still got some super chats to get through.
Let's do it.
1,000 Foot Deep End said she also patterned the dance after the original Wednesday Addams dance from the 60s series. Yeah, people pointed that out. It was kind of cool.
Yep.
Bad App said, new phone, who dis?
Who is this?
Did he get summoned? Not Alan Rogers said, when did PCC chat become inundated with PDFs? I wouldn't put that on the whole chat. I don't know what's going on in there all the time. We don't always pay attention. But I hope that's not true. Elijah Borges said, a man has no my body, my choice. If he doesn't want a child, he's still subject to the whims of the mother. She can choose to have the baby, later demand support for it. Men held to a higher standard. Well, if you're suggesting that the solution to this is fathers having a say in whether women should get abortions or not, I don't think that is a good solution, because there will be a lot of fathers demanding abortions.
Well, I mean, how many times do we see actors like where now they're saying like, and then he convinced me to get some famous actor gets some no-name girl pregnant in the.
No, it was Steven Tyler.
Yeah, just recently. That was awful.
Yeah, I think there would be more cases of that than more babies being born. I need to stop watching YouTube said, I believe in unicorn. Same, dude.
What, like, I want to see a unicorn. It's like, have either of you ever seen Gone in 60 Seconds?
I think that you will see a unicorn. It's trans disabled black James Bond.
Well, I've already seen that character. That already exists in comics. Like, there's already.
Yeah, dude, you see the Joker's pregnant now.
Yeah.
Dude,
we'll have to cover that tomorrow.
Cool.
But I was like, have you ever seen the movie Gone in 60 Seconds?
No,
there's
I
like
haven't.
they talk about how the 67 Shelby Mustang GT500 that he is, like, they're like, it's Memphis's unicorn, and like there's this one character who's like really dumb. He's like, what's a unicorn? The guy goes, is it the horse, the horn on its head, it's a fable creatures. Like, then the guy's like, oh duh. Like, it's like I like, there's people that are like how are unicorns not real, but certain animals that are even more ridiculous are. Like, there's absolutely animals that are just as ridiculous.
High Voltage 75 said, I was driving by a church today and the sign outside said, Mary wrapped the first Christmas present. Did you, Mary?
Was that you?
Not the same Mary, believe it or not.
Oh.
They were not referring to me.
Not all.
I'm not the only Mary that exists in the planet.
Could have fooled me.
It's okay. How about this? What if the Catholic Church starts a Metaverse channel and they've just got Jesus walking around?
Mary,
in the
would you
Metaverse?
go to
I will
Metaverse
pray that
church?
never happens. I will not. I mean, I didn't even watch live stream mass during the pandemic because it's just not the same. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But that would be creepy.
Like you're just like Jesus walking around and like you can give him different sandals and like it's just a thing.
He has an avatar. I hate that.
That's and like Mary is there and like there's a literal like Metaverse manger you can go
Please,
visit.
No. I need to stop watching YouTube said unicorn reel.
Is a unicorn different than a unicorn?
And a unicom.
All right, guys. Kellen, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I feel like it's more and more fun each time.
Excellent, man. Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me at Kellen PDL, mainly active on Twitter. So yeah, follow me there. Thank you, guys.
All right, Mary. Where, if not in the Metaverse, where can they find you?
Yes. You will never find me in the Metaverse, but you can find some two-dimensional pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. I also tweet sometimes. That's also Mary Archived. I'm trying to be more active on socials. It's hard, but I'm trying.
She's the only person in the world whose like New Year's goal was to be more active on social media, not less active.
It's part of the job.
Yeah.
I have to.
All right, guys, if you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining. Would you please like this video, leave comments on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. It helps us greatly. If you'd like to listen to the podcast rather than watch, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And in social media, we are on Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Bye, guys.